4101, 4101. Chapter 4101, The Lord of Slaughter. The Lord of Curses was entangled by the human emperor and the sword emperor, roaring in fury but utterly helpless. The Lord of Curses had attained the Tao early and was extremely powerful. Even the human emperor and an Yuan, both eternals, were wary of him. In a one-on-one fight, either of them might not be his match. But this was not a duel, it was a group assault, and with the sword emperor, whose strength was at least equal to his, joining in, the Lord of Curses was completely suppressed, barely able to defend himself. At this point, the Lord of Curses had long since wanted to retreat, but with the human emperor interfering and Lin Moyu's formation trapping him, he could not return to the origin land. In the end, he could only watch as Lin Moyu and An Yuyan destroyed all 39 of his painstakingly created avatars. His rage reached its peak, and after all his avatars were destroyed, the Lord of Curses went completely mad. "I want you all dead. All of you must die," he roared, the cursed Tao erupting in crimson light, the stench of blood intensifying and enveloping the world. Instantly, the entire battlefield, the Tao Lord Hall, the Ungduan Mountains, and the great wilderness were all shrouded in bloody light. The blood sea boiled, and mysterious forces opened 39 rifts in the world, exactly the number of avatars he had made. Each rift led directly to where an avatar had been, and crimson light flowed back from those locations. Lin Moyu saw that these were strands of the Lord of Curses' soul left at each avatar's location. He hadn't just left 39 avatars, but also 39 soul fragments in different places, separate from the avatars. The Lord of Curses' caution exceeded even Lin Moyu's expectations. He was truly afraid of death. But this was also his final preparation for his last step, though now it had all been ruined. The Lord of Curses went completely berserk, recalling all 39 soul fragments. At that moment, his soul became whole again, and his power returned to its peak. The blood sea boiled even more fiercely, the formation roared as if about to be burst apart by the blood sea. Divine runes floated and exploded within the blood sea, but Lin Moyu continued to draw more, reinforcing the formation. An Yuyan lifted her palm. Fruit of injury. Wrapped in the cause and effect Tao, An Yuyan began to plant a fruit, the fruit of injury. Once planted, the Lord of Curses would inevitably be injured, regardless of the cause. The fruit of injury was quickly planted, blossomed, and then vanished. The blood sea paused for a breath, then a scream rang out as the Lord of Curses' aura plummeted. An Yuyan also groaned, her body trembling and blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. The backlash of the cause and effect Tao had wounded her as well. Such is the cause and effect Tao, unreasonably powerful, but with strict limits. Every fruit comes at a price, the more extreme the fruit, the greater the cost. The fruit of injury could wound the Lord of Curses, but An Yuyan had to bear the backlash and be injured as well. She didn't dare plant a fruit of death unless she wanted to die together with him. As the master of the cause and effect Tao, if An Yuyan went all out, she could drag anyone down with her, even if her battle power wasn't the strongest. Lin Moyu used the power of life to heal An Yuyan and handed her several spirit flowers. She smiled as she accepted them but didn't use them immediately, the blood at her lips strikingly beautiful. She didn't stop, continuing to plant fruits. Lin Moyu said, "That's enough, stop now." An Yuyan smiled, "Don't worry, I know my limits." At that moment, she glowed brilliantly. Fruit of misfortune, fruit of chaos. With both hands, she planted 2 fruits at once. The fruit of misfortune would sap the Lord of Curses' luck, making everything go wrong and slowing his actions. The fruit of chaos would cloud his mind and throw him into confusion. Both fruits took effect, and the Lord of Curses roared again, though these fruits didn't cause much real harm, so the backlash to An Yuyan was not severe. Bloodbath the world, the Lord of Curses roared, the blood sea boiling in mighty waves forcing the Sword Emperor and Human Emperor back. The blood sea turned into a torrential rain, spawning countless tornadoes as if to scour the world clean. The divine statues left by the divine civilization floated in the blood sea, losing their vitality and falling silent. Though powerful, they were still no match for the Lord of Curses. The undead servants charged, unleashing all their power to shatter the oncoming blood sea. The blood sea exploded, transforming into countless blood men that fought the undead in brutal melee. The Human Emperor and Sword Emperor charged back into the fray, resuming their battle with the Lord of Curses. Lin Moyu could see the Human Emperor was giving his all, while the Sword Emperor was holding back somewhat. This was expected. The Human Emperor was fighting for himself, the Sword Emperor was not. Lin Moyu had foreseen this and didn't expect too much from the Sword Emperor, just that he could help pin down the Lord of Curses. He continued to draw divine runes, merging them into Chengdao Cliff and integrating them with the formation. The formation grew stronger and more murderous. He had laid 3 layers of formation at Chengdao Cliff. The first and outermost layer, which was also the most labor-intensive, had been completed by the Lord of Formations over 70 years. If Lin Moyu had done it himself, it would have taken at least 20 years and would have been discovered by the Lord of Curses. The second step was to perfect the formation, integrating the Lord of Formations' work. That took nearly a year, and Lin Moyu did it with his avatars. These 2 steps mainly served to trap the Lord of Curses. The third step was the core of the entire formation, which would transform the trap into a killing array. This part was the hardest and could only be done by Lin Moyu himself. So, throughout the battle, he had been multitasking, arranging the final formation in his soul. Now, at last, the formation was complete. The true killing intent of Lin Moyu's plan was unleashed. Killing the Lord of Curses was nearly impossible. At best, they could force him into dormancy. But even that was not easy. If simply killed, the Lord of Curses would return to the origin land and be reborn in his Tao. In that case, he could return in as little as 10,000 years or as much as 100,000. But Lin Moyu wanted to force him into a dormancy that would last millions of years. Over 100,000 divine runes flew out, and the final step of the formation was complete. The great array at Chengdao Cliff roared, transforming from a trap into a killing array. Murderous intent soared to the sky, the killing array erupted, and the blood sea was annihilated. At the same time, a terrifying figure appeared in midair. Lin Moyu was startled. The Lord of Slaughter. He then looked at the human emperor, his gaze complex and full of meaning. The human emperor also looked at the suddenly appearing Lord of Slaughter, a flash of killing intent in his eyes. 4102. 4102. Chapter 4102, It Should End Now. Chengdao Cliff was the place where the Lord of Slaughter attained the Tao, and his will lingered here in Eternal's will, undispersed for billions of years. Now, as Lin Moyu activated the killing formation, murderous intent soared to the heavens, drawing out the will of the Lord of Slaughter. The moment the Lord of Slaughter's will appeared, it locked onto the human emperor, as if spotting a mortal enemy, and silently charged at him. The human emperor snorted coldly, temporarily letting go of the Lord of Curses and engaging in a fierce battle with the will of the Lord of Slaughter. Although it was only will, it was strong enough to tangle with the human emperor. This scene was unexpected, and Yuyan asked in surprise, "How did this happen?" "I'll explain later," Lin Moyu replied, fully aware of the reason the moment the Lord of Slaughter's will appeared. Lin Moyu called out loudly, "Sword Emperor, don't let him escape." The Sword Emperor grunted in response, his sword aura growing even stronger. With the human emperor no longer sharing the burden, he naturally had to exert more effort. With a thought, Lin Moyu pushed the formation to its limit, continuing to grind down the blood sea, aiming to force the Lord of Curses into dormancy by completely annihilating the blood sea. The formation roared, exploding again and again as the blood sea was rapidly shredded and shrank. With the human emperor no longer tying him down, the Lord of Curses saw hope again. He drove the blood sea into massive waves, pushing back the Sword Emperor and trying to break through the formation to escape. But Lin Moyu would not allow it. The reverse Tao spirit intervened, disrupting the Lord of Curses. Previously affected by the fruit of chaos, the Lord of Curses' mind was already somewhat muddled. Now, under the influence of the reverse Tao spirit, his thoughts became even more chaotic. He finally gave up thinking and let his instincts take over. Born from the blood sea, his combat instincts were formidable. While under the reverse Tao spirit's influence, the blood sea suddenly transformed into a rain of arrows shooting upward. In the empty void, a great Tao appeared, the positive and negative Tao of the reverse Tao spirit. The arrow storm forced out the Tao and struck it, causing the heavenly Tao to tremble and crack. The reverse Tao spirit shrieked, its aura plummeting, red light erupting from its body as it was clearly cursed. In the blink of an eye, the reverse Tao spirit lost its strength, and Lin Moyu quickly withdrew it. The Lord of Curses had used the reverse Tao spirit's own Tao to launch a curse attack, rendering it powerless. With the reverse Tao spirit out of the way, the Lord of Curses roared and charged again. The other Tao spirits attacked together. The sword Tao spirit turned into a sharp sword, slashing into the blood sea, while undead servants empowered it with the metal Tao, making the blade even sharper. The sword cut a huge gash in the blood sea, but suddenly a giant hand shot out, grabbing the sword Tao spirit. It struggled free, but was stained with blood and its aura weakened sharply. Heaven and earth, all realms, are cursed. The Lord of Curses' voice rang out, the blood sea glowing red and filling everything with the power of curses. The true fire Tao spirit, scarlet blood Tao spirit, and space Tao spirit were all affected, their combat power greatly diminished. Suddenly, a pair of giant eyes appeared in the void. The candle dragon had arrived. The candle dragon looked at Lin Moyu with a complicated gaze, but before he could speak, Lin Moyu said first, we'll settle our accounts later. Let me finish this first. Lin Moyu knew that by using Tao spirits to battle, especially against an eternal, he would inevitably attract heavenly punishment. The candle dragon could, to some extent, control heavenly punishment, so Lin Moyu negotiated for a delay. A moment later, the candle dragon's voice sounded, fine. The candle dragon disappeared, temporarily leaving. That simple, fine, was enough to show the familiarity between Lin Moyu and the candle dragon. The Lord of Curses forced back the Tao spirits and tried to break out again. You can't escape, Lin Moyu said softly. With a tap of his finger, the void twisted and magma surged. A vision of hell descended. Bone Hell. It had been a long time since Lin Moyu used this technique. Bone Hell was now a key part of the Great Thousand World. All undead in that world entered Bone Hell after death before reincarnating. Bone Hell had grown stronger through this process, nourished by the lingering power of countless undead. Lin Moyu didn't know exactly how strong Bone Hell was now, but it was certainly formidable and retained all its functions. That was enough. Bone Hell appeared in the Blood Sea, unleashing countless hellish fiends that bit into the Blood Sea. The Blood Sea, infused with the Lord of Curses' power, was a feast for these fiends, who devoured it greedily. Get lost. The Lord of Curses, having once monitored Lin Moyu, knew what Bone Hell was. With a roar, the Blood Sea turned into black iron, trapping the hellish fiends. The Blood Sea compressed, crushing the fiends to pieces. Not only the fiends, but Bone Hell itself was also crushed. The netherworld black dragon burst out, breathing dragonfire to melt the black iron, but the metal was so strong it couldn't be melted immediately. The dragon rammed it again and again, making the Blood Sea tremble. Lin Moyu saw that the netherworld black dragon was now close to the level of a great Tao Lord, not the strongest, but impressive, considering Bone Hell hadn't existed for long and still needed time to grow. Die! The Lord of Curses roared, the black iron Blood Sea pressing even harder, crushing the dragon and shattering Bone Hell. At the instant Bone Hell was destroyed, Lin Moyu's soul landed on the Lord of Curses. Bone Hell had fulfilled its purpose, locking onto the Lord of Curses. The final soul void crystal appeared in Lin Moyu's hand and then vanished. Boom! Corpse explosion. A terrifying explosion erupted at the center of the Blood Sea, blasting a massive hole in it. Screams echoed from the hole. Instantly, the rest of the Blood Sea fell silent, and the blood warriors it had spawned stopped fighting. The undead seized the opportunity to wipe them out. The formation continued grinding away at the Blood Sea. Lin Moyu had once used the Soul Void Crystal to injure the Lord of Time, and now it worked just as well on the Lord of Curses. These corpses, from strange beings in chaos, had astonishing effects. The Lord of Curses, who had once monitored Lin Moyu, didn't know about the Soul Void Crystal's existence, as he hadn't seen what happened in the virtual world. The Lord of Curses screamed in agony, his aura weakening even further after the explosion. The Sword Emperor attacked again, still not using his full strength, just keeping the Lord of Curses occupied. Killing the Lord of Curses was Lin Moyu's responsibility, whether he succeeded or not didn't matter to the Sword Emperor. The Lord of Curses kept roaring, but now there was a hint of fear in his voice. That last attack had truly hurt him. Suddenly, the Blood Sea began to contract, growing smaller but more concentrated and powerful. Eventually, it condensed into a giant 1,000 meters tall, pounding Chengdao Cliff, shattering Origin Mountain, and sinking the ground, destroying much of the formation. He tore at the formation, still trying to escape. By now, the Lord of Curses no longer wanted to kill Lin Moyu, only to flee. Lin Moyu's aura soared as he stepped into half-step transcendence. It's time to end this. Great Tao World Ending Palm. 4103. 4103. Chapter 4103. The Secret of the Great Wilderness. A gigantic palm imprint swept down from the sky, striking at the Blood Sea Giant. When the Lord of Curses condensed his power into the form of the Blood Sea Giant, Lin Moyu knew this was the opportunity he had been waiting for. When the Blood Sea was too vast, even using the Great Tao World Ending Palm couldn't truly harm the Lord of Curses' core. But now that the Blood Sea had condensed into a giant, although its power surged, it became a perfect target for the formation. Each form had its strengths and weaknesses, but for Lin Moyu, the condensed Blood Sea giant was the best target. This time, the great Tao world-ending palm was unleashed with full power, drawing upon a torrent of faith power from the great thousand world and infusing it into the strike. Vast great Tao power was absorbed by the world-ending palm, evolving into a mighty palm imprint that locked firmly onto the Lord of Curses. By the time the Lord of Curses sensed the danger, it was too late. He was locked in place and could no longer revert to the Blood Sea form. He could only watch as the palm fell upon him, annihilating the Blood Sea and causing his aura to plummet. The Lord of Curses screamed endlessly. From the start of this battle, his screams had never ceased. Against Lin Moyu's meticulous planning, he was powerless. Every move was anticipated, every counterattack ended in failure. But none of the previous injuries had struck at his foundation. As long as he could escape, he could recover from anything. This time, however, the world-ending palm struck at his very core. After one palm, the Blood Sea giant was already half crippled. Lin Moyu, reborn in purple light, immediately stepped back into half-step transcendence and struck again. Stop, wait, the Lord of Curses shrieked. But Lin Moyu ignored him, and the Lord of Curses was blasted apart, the Blood Sea giant reverting to a vast Blood Sea though now less than half its former size. The formation resumed its grinding assault, and Lin Moyu, having already committed, did not let up. The world-ending palm struck repeatedly, and each time he was reborn, he poured all his power into the attack, no longer caring about revealing his true strength. The Sword Emperor kept his distance, not wanting to get caught by the world-ending palm. The Human Emperor, having finally defeated the will of the Lord of Slaughter, also kept his distance, his eyes full of shock. He knew Lin Moyu possessed the world-ending palm and that it was powerful. He'd seen it used against the world will before. He also knew that using the palm brought backlash, though Lin Moyu could resurrect. But he always assumed Lin Moyu's resurrection had limits and that the world-ending palm couldn't be used endlessly. Now, though, it was clear that while the world-ending palm did bring backlash, Lin Moyu's resurrection seemed limitless, meaning the world-ending palm had no real limit either. Suddenly, the Human Emperor realized the essence of Lin Moyu's immortality, Great Tao, true immortality. He began to understand what the immortality Great Tao truly meant and sensed its terrifying nature. Beside Lin Moyu, and Yuyan was both shocked and delighted. Shocked at Lin Moyu's strength, delighted for the same reason. The Lord of Curses did everything he could to move the Blood Sea and avoid the world-ending palm, but the Blood Sea was still continuously annihilated, growing weaker and weaker. His aura faded as he screamed, "Stop! Don't kill me, I have something to say." Lin Moyu ignored him, the world-ending palm raining down without pause. The Lord of Curses cried out, "I know a shocking secret about the great wilderness." At these words, Lin Moyu finally stopped, but the Human Emperor and Sword Emperor remained vigilant, giving the Lord of Curses no chance to escape. Lin Moyu's voice was cold and low. "What secret?" The Lord of Curses said, "I know a shocking secret about the heart of the great wilderness, but you must promise not to kill me after I tell you." Lin Moyu nodded, "As long as your secret is valuable, I promise not to kill you." "I, Lin Moyu, keep my word, you should know that." The Lord of Curses had monitored Lin Moyu for a long time and knew he was ruthless but kept his promises. He didn't dare demand an oath. If he did, it might mean certain death, as Lin Moyu was not easily threatened. Such things had happened before, and he dared not risk it. "I believe you." At the very center of the great wilderness, the ancient emperor is constructing the first emperor pool. This emperor pool is different from the other 9 emperor pools. It will gather the power of all filth pools. Once completed, the filth pools of the Tao wild beasts will collectively be elevated. At that time, king-level filth pools will be able to directly birth beast kings, and emperor-level filth pools will be able to birth beast emperors. Moreover, the number of beast emperors will no longer be limited to 9. At these words, everyone's expression changed drastically. The concept of directly birthing beast kings was terrifying. If there were enough beast kings, even Eternals would have to retreat. An army of beast kings would be a catastrophe for cultivators and a disaster for the spirit demon clan as well. And if beast emperors could be born without limit, it would become an extinction-level calamity. Lin Moyu asked, "How do you know this? When did it happen?" The Lord of Curses replied, "I once entered the core of the great wilderness, but was discovered by the beast emperors and forced into dormancy by the filth. But I left a mark at the center and, after awakening, kept monitoring them, so I found out." Lin Moyu pressed, why didn't you say this before? This concerns all the world, not just you. The Lord of Curses said, because I sensed that Kul could help me take the final step, but I needed to enter it. The Beast Emperors guard it, and it's full of filth I can't get in. That's why I needed your body, Lin Moyu, only your body is immune to the curse and can enter. In the end, it was still all about his own breakthrough. Lin Moyu asked, in your view, how much time is left? The Lord of Curses replied, I don't know. It's impossible to say. Lin Moyu took a deep breath. Alright, that secret is valuable enough, so you can go into dormancy now. His aura surged again, and the world-ending palm reappeared, the formation activating once more. The Lord of Curses screamed, you promised not to kill me. Lin Moyu replied, I'm not killing you, just sending you into dormancy. I always keep my word. Sleep well, you'll wake up again, many years from now. He had promised not to kill the Lord of Curses, but never said he wouldn't send him into dormancy. Only then did the Lord of Curses realize he'd been tricked in his panic. His fury exploded, then let's die together. All the blood sea surged toward Lin Moyu, and the cursed Tao, glowing crimson, crashed down. The great Tao roared and shattered as the Lord of Curses used his own Tao as a weapon, fighting Lin Moyu to the death. Lin Moyu snorted coldly, it's useless. Unfazed, he unleashed the world-ending palm again and again, smashing the blood sea apart. The human emperor also attacked, the destruction Tao colliding with the Lord of Curses Tao. The human emperor was blasted away, but the cursed Tao only paused before continuing toward Lin Moyu. The sword emperor and an Yuyan attacked together, using their own Taos to block the cursed Tao. 4104, 4104. Chapter 4104, Rest in Dormancy. The Lord of Curses burned his own soul, his phantom appearing atop the cursed Tao, forcibly blasting an Yuyan and the sword emperor away. His hatred for Lin Moyu was so deep that he was willing to burn his soul just to kill him. Lin Moyu showed no panic. As the cursed Tao descended upon him, the catastrophic scepter appeared in his hand, and his body grew enormous. The catastrophic scepter also enlarged, and Lin Moyu swung it down like swatting a fly. With a bang, the cursed Tao was smashed to pieces, and the Lord of Curses let out a sky-shaking, miserable scream. What kind of treasure is that? The human emperor and sword emperor had the same thought. They could not imagine that Lin Moyu still had such a trump card. A treasure that could directly shatter a great Tao had never been seen before. The sword emperor instinctively thought of the green-robed elder, wondering, could this also be a treasure given by the Supreme? In his understanding, only the Supreme could do such a thing. The great Tao was destroyed, but fortunately it was only a projection. The true body was unharmed. The Lord of Curses, screaming, retreated back into the blood sea. This time, he was heavily wounded, his aura dropping to less than a tenth of his peak. With only this much power left, he had no chance to escape. Even if he wanted to fight to the death, he couldn't. He let out a bitter laugh before falling into dormancy. I've lost again. Billions of years ago I lost to the Beast Emperor, and now, billions of years later, I lose to you, a mere nobody. But I won't give up. When I return, I'll take that final step and crush you to dust. If I must be dormant, you won't have it easy. I lay a curse upon you. May you never attain the Tao. He uttered his final curse, his soul igniting, and the blood sea collapsed. Endless curses ignored space and formations, descending upon Lin Moyu along the laws of heaven and earth. The Lord of Curses had always coveted Lin Moyu's body, so he had never struck him too hard, for fear of damaging what he hoped would become his own vessel. But now, with his own dormancy inevitable, he no longer cared and would not let Lin Moyu off easily. As the curse descended, Lin Moyu only smiled, lightly waving the catastrophic scepter. A curse is just another form of element. He spoke words only he could hear, and the elemental gem on the catastrophic scepter shone. All the curses reversed direction and were absorbed into the elemental gem, vanishing without a trace. Yua, the Lord of Curses, was utterly despairing. Even his final curse had failed. It was as if, ever since becoming the Lord of Curses, he had been bound to failure. Lin Moyu said, rest in dormancy. Perhaps you'll have a chance to revive in the future. The formation continued grinding away at the blood sea. Lin Moyu delivered the final world-ending palm, sending the Lord of Curses on his way. The great battle was finally over. With a wave, Lin Moyu dismissed all formations. With a roar, Chengdao Cliff shook violently. Without the support of the formations, Chengdao Cliff finally collapsed. If the will of the Lord of Slaughter had remained, the cliff might have stayed intact. But now that the will had been destroyed by the human emperor, the collapse was inevitable. From now on, Chengdao Cliff would no longer exist on the battlefield unless the Lord of Slaughter returned to restore it himself. Lin Moyu said, "Thank you, human emperor. Here is what I promised you, please accept it." He handed the spirit control technique to the human emperor, who checked it and, after confirming its authenticity, smiled with delight. "Taoist Lin, you keep your word. If you need anything in the future, just call on me." With that, he turned and left, clearly eager to study the spirit control technique. With his talent, he would likely master it in 10,000 years and then try to take his final step. Whether he would succeed depended on himself. Lin Moyu looked at the Sword Emperor. "Sword Emperor, why not head to the Ungduan Mountains first? I have some things to handle here and will come find you to send you back." The Sword Emperor nodded, "All right, I'll wait for you there." Then he turned and left. After seeing the catastrophic scepter, the Sword Emperor had new suspicions about Lin Moyu, and his attitude improved considerably. He suspected Lin Moyu's relationship with the green-robed elder was extraordinary, otherwise, why would he risk his own Dao to help Lin Moyu block the cursed Dao at the last moment? With the one who had always been watching him finally dealt with, Lin Moyu let out a long sigh of relief. After so much planning, he could finally relax. Looking at the slightly pale An Yuyan, he asked, "Taoist Yuyan, are you free? How about a walk with me?" An Yuyan smiled sweetly, "Of course." With the heavy burden lifted, they could finally relax a little. The two of them left Chengdao Cliff, heading toward the 10 million origin mountains. Lin Moyu sighed, sharing stories with An Yuyan tales of his battles with the Lord of Curses and other matters. He mentioned the Lord of Slaughter. When the Lord of Slaughter's will appeared earlier, Lin Moyu was struck by how identical it was to the Woodkill Realm Lord. The Woodkill Realm Lord also cultivated the Slaughter Dao, so it was almost certain he was the reincarnation of the Lord of Slaughter. And Yuyan was surprised. So the human emperor knew the Woodkill Realm Lord was the reincarnation of the Lord of Slaughter. Lin Moyu replied, "I noticed the human emperor's expression at the time, though he didn't show much. There was a difference, so he definitely knew." To be precise, the human emperor didn't know at first, but after meeting the Woodkill Realm Lord, he figured it out and killed him. From this, we can infer that the Lord of Slaughter's dormancy back then was probably related to the human emperor. So the human emperor doesn't want the Lord of Slaughter to return to the Dao, at least not before he takes his final step. And Yuyan said, "I don't know the human emperor well, but I can imagine what kind of person he is. He'd definitely do something like that." Lin Moyu said, "No need to dwell on the specifics. Everyone is just striving for their own final step. Whatever they do is understandable. Like the Lord of Curses, who cursed 1,000 worlds and left countless beings in pain for billions of years, and didn't care at all. Karma accumulated, and this time I used it as a weapon against him. Taoist Yuyan, you should understand every action has consequences, so it's important to consider the results." And Yuyan clearly agreed. Indeed, if one day the Lord of Slaughter reappears and blocks the human emperor's final step, that would be normal too. Lin Moyu chuckled, "If that really happens, it'll be interesting. Eternal existences go dormant and reincarnate, and their reincarnations may not be limited to just one. Maybe not as many as the Lord of Curses' 39 avatars, but a few backup plans are normal." In the Dao Lord Hall, all was silent. This battle had shattered everyone's worldview. Although they hadn't seen the whole process, they had seen and heard the outcome. The Lord of Curses was forced into dormancy, and Lin Moyu had won. A great Dao Lord had defeated an Eternal. Such an unbelievable thing had really happened before their eyes. They suddenly realized that Eternals might not be so invincible after all. 4105. 4105. Chapter 4105. The Little One Starts Working. What Lin Moyu accomplished shattered many people's long-held beliefs, but they didn't realize that Lin Moyu only achieved this level through meticulous, step-by-step calculation. Among all the great Dao Lords, the most excited was the Lord of Formations. He suddenly realized that formations could be so powerful they could even deal with an Eternal. At the same time, he understood that, even as the Lord of Formations, he still had a long way to go. The Dao of Formations could only provide support, making his formations stronger and more effective, but it couldn't by itself allow him to arrange even more complex and powerful formations. Previously, the Lord of Formations thought his path had reached its end. But now, it seemed he was only just beginning. Apart from the Lord of Formations, the happiest was Saint Heart. The War Emperor's projection chuckled, well, see. He's fine. Saint Heart also smiled, grandfather, you were right. The War Emperor said, now you can go find him. Saint Heart shook her head, no, I'm going to refine pills. With that, she flew toward the Tao Lord Hall, the War Emperor watching her leave with a smile and a glint of red light in his eyes. In the corner of the formation, beneath the earth, a point of crimson was boiling. Lin Moyu and Yuyan walked and chatted, discussing many things. Yuyan spoke about what happens after becoming eternal, things to watch out for, and so on. By the time they reached the 10 million origin mountains, Yuyan's backlash injuries were almost healed. Yuyan stretched, showing off her graceful figure. Lin Taoist, your immortality great Tao is truly miraculous. Lin Moyu replied, Taoist Yuyan, when you were in the origin land, did you ever study the immortality great Tao? Yuyan answered, people like us only believe in our own Tao. We don't study others' Taos. Every eternal has taken their own Tao to the limit, focusing on one thing to reach this level. How could we go study someone else's Tao? Lin Moyu said, actually, there's nothing wrong with learning a bit about other Taos, even just the basics. Even if you don't master them, understanding more Taos helps you comprehend the whole universe. Taoist Yuyan, do you know what lies beyond the heavens? Yuyan replied, beyond the heavens is chaos. In chaos, there are other worlds like ours. Lin Moyu asked again, do you know what's behind that gate? Yuyan shook her head. She'd never obtained that gate, so she didn't know. Historically, those who had entered the gate were vague about what lay beyond, even to themselves. Lin Moyu said, you're right. There are indeed many worlds like ours, called realms. Behind the gate is a realm that was destroyed, or rather, the ruins of a once great realm. That's why I call it the Gate of Realms. Yuyan paused in her steps. A destroyed realm. Lin Moyu nodded. Yes, that realm once flourished. The human emperor's spirit-seizing technique comes from one of its factions, called the Myriad Spirits Pavilion, which had a set of secret arts known as the Myriad Spirits Secret Arts. The spirit-seizing technique is just one of them. In the Myriad Spirits Pavilion, there were Saint Spirit level experts though. Saint Spirit doesn't necessarily mean stronger than an eternal, since realms differ and strength can't be compared by rank. In their realm, Saint Spirit was a level beyond eternal, having transcended the realm itself. But even so, they might not be able to defeat an eternal from our world. Lin Moyu felt that the realm of the Myriad Spirits Pavilion was inferior to his own, and so were their experts. Since the conversation had gone this far, Lin Moyu continued, within the world, there are two kinds of filth and impurities. One is Tao filth, which gives rise to Tao wild beasts. Tao wild beasts are born to devour Taos and destroy worlds, that's their instinct. The other is the world's own filth, which gives rise to soul-eating spirits. Soul-eating spirits are born to devour living beings, but they exist outside the world, wrapping around it and isolating it from chaos. That's their instinct. I think that if we take the final step, we'll have to leave this world, and the result will be to face the soul-eating spirits directly. Only by passing through them can one truly transcend. The soul-eating spirits should be the last trial. Yuyan took time to digest Lin Moyu's words before saying, so that's how it is. We never saw it so clearly before. She had discussed the final step with others many times, but never as thoroughly as Lin Moyu explained now. Lin Moyu said, the reason I'm telling you this is that the cause and effect great Tao is the best Tao for transcendence. With it, you can easily comprehend other Taos, draw analogies, and complete your final step. Yuyan looked at Lin Moyu with beautiful eyes. You know what my final step is? Every Eternal's final step is their own secret, never shared with others. Yuyan had never told anyone, not even Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu replied, I can guess a bit. Your final step is probably to change cause and effect, to go against karma and defy fate. But it's hard to comprehend that step. I still suggest starting from other Taos, try to comprehend a few others, and you might gain new insights. Yuyan thought over Lin Moyu's words and felt he made sense, especially about matters beyond the world, which piqued her interest. She sighed, I always thought becoming eternal was the end. I never considered the final step. Now, after hearing you, I want to try. Lin Moyu smiled, you should. The universe is wondrous, just one more step and you'll see the beauty. You can't give up now. As they walked through the 10 million origin mountains, they noticed something odd. There wasn't a single Tao wild beast. The last time Lin Moyu passed through, there were many, but now, none appeared. Lin Moyu wasn't surprised. Looks like the little one has started working. The soulless beast he released was traveling along the underground filth currents, and its first stop was probably the pool outside the 10 million origin mountains. Most of the Dao wild beasts in the mountains came from the outside pools. If something happened to the pools, the beasts would rush over. The current state of the mountains showed that the soulless beast had begun its work. All beings have their nature, and the soulless beast's nature is to purify Dao wild beasts. In doing so, it grows stronger. Chatting happily, Lin Moyu and Yuyan passed through the mountains and soon reached the first filth pool. 4106. 4106. Chapter 4106. What is the truth of heaven and earth? Outside the filth pool, a dense crowd of Dao wild beasts gathered. These beasts, from sky to ground, surrounded the pool on all sides, growling lowly. The muffled rumble echoed across the land like thunder. At this moment, all the Dao wild beasts were completely focused on the pool, paying no attention to Lin Moyu and Yuyan. Normally, Dao wild beasts would have already attacked, regardless of whether you were a great Dao lord or an eternal. They never cared if they could win, they'd just attack first and think later. But now, something more important had captured their attention. Their behavior struck Yuyan as odd. The Dao wild beasts' eyes were filled with vigilance and strong fighting intent, but they hadn't actually attacked. They were wary, but also somewhat fearful. Lin Moyu noticed this too. After a while, he discerned the reason. These wild beasts likely all came from this filth pool. It's their lair, so when something happens to it, they naturally return. The beasts encircled the pool so densely that it was impossible to see what was happening inside. And Yuyan suggested, should we fight our way in and take a look? Lin Moyu smiled, no need, I have a way. Since he had created the soulless beast himself, he was connected to it and could see some things through that link. Lin Moyu drew a divine rune, which projected an image of the pool. The filth pool had changed dramatically. It was now much clearer than before. At the center, the fist-sized soulless beast lay quietly on the surface, as if sleeping. It was one with the pool, emitting a faint light that shone into the water, transforming the filth within. As this transformation occurred, the soulless beast's aura steadily grew stronger. And Yuyan said, it's purifying the pool. Lin Moyu nodded, yes. He hadn't given the soulless beast any instructions, it decided everything on its own. The soulless beast was purifying the pool, using its power to strengthen itself. Once the pool was purified, the Dao wild beasts would lose their home. So it's being robbed of its home, and Yuyan laughed, finding it amusing. Lin Moyu said, these Dao wild beasts haven't figured out what's happening yet, but they'll probably attack soon. And Yuyan asked, with so many Dao wild beasts, how will it handle them? Lin Moyu replied, let's watch, it'll be interesting. He planned to observe how the soulless beast would deal with the wild beasts. Every living being in the world has a soul, but the soulless beast is unique. It's alive but has no soul, something even Lin Moyu couldn't fully understand. But its existence proves there are still many secrets in the world he doesn't know. By watching how the soulless beast dealt with the Dao wild beasts, he hoped to gain new insights. If Lin Moyu wanted to become the master of the world, he needed to understand it thoroughly. The soulless beast continued to purify the pool, making it ever clearer. The Dao wild beasts surrounding it finally lost patience and charged at it with furious roars. The pool erupted with water columns, which fell like rain, each droplet glowing with the same light as the soulless beast. When the rain landed on the Dao wild beasts, their auras plummeted and their bodies rapidly collapsed. The Dao wild beasts' bodies were formed from filth, maintaining a delicate balance. The rain, imbued with the soulless beast's purifying power, disrupted this balance and shattered their bodies. The broken bodies fell into the pool, where the light quickly decomposed and purified them. Without bodies, the wild beast's souls appeared in midair. The soulless beast opened its mouth, let out a clear cry, and absorbed all the souls. The Dao wild beasts' bodies were filthy, but their souls were pure. The soulless beast purified the bodies and devoured the souls, growing even stronger. And Yuyan exclaimed in surprise, it can do that. Lin Moyu pondered, balance, so breaking the balance destroys the Dao wild beasts' bodies. That's a good idea not only for Dao wild beasts, but for other things too. And it's not just this world, other realms must also obey the law of balance. Lin Moyu's perspective was different from most. He always sought the essence of things. The remaining Tao wild beasts stopped and launched attacks at the soulless beast. The soulless beast didn't move, water splashed again, and powerful light from the pool enveloped the soulless beast, turning it into a ball of light. All attacks landed on the light, but none could harm it. Even attacks can be purified, and Yuyan observed. She saw that the light didn't block the attacks, it purified them. The wild beast's attacks, full of filth and curses, were instantly purified when they touched the light. The soulless beast absorbed the purified power to strengthen itself. It was like a bottomless pit. No matter how strong the wild beast's attacks, it absorbed them all. In this sense, it seemed invincible. Lin Moyu considered another question. If the soulless beast was so unafraid of the Tao wild beasts, why didn't it just purify them all directly? Was there another limitation? While the soulless beast was the natural nemesis of Tao wild beasts, in nature, water can extinguish fire, but a great fire can also dry up water. Who restrains whom depends on strength. If the gap is wide enough, Tao wild beasts should be able to kill the soulless beast. Gradually, Lin Moyu realized something. The soulless beast wasn't refusing to act, it just wasn't time yet. After watching a while longer, Lin Moyu confirmed his theory. So that's it. And Yuyan asked, what's going on? She was curious why the soulless beast didn't just purify the wild beasts, but started with the pool. Lin Moyu explained, these Tao wild beasts were born from this filth pool. The pool is not only their home, but also where their true spirit imprints are stored. The soulless beast appears to be purifying the pool, but it's actually purifying their true spirit imprints. Once those are purified, the Tao wild beasts will collapse on their own. No need to purify each one individually, which is much more efficient. And Yuyan was surprised. The Tao wild beast's true spirit imprints are in the pool. Lin Moyu said, it's just a guess, but I'm probably right. If so, it's very interesting. Tao wild beasts are formed from Tao filth, yet they have true spirit imprints, which means their existence is recognized by heaven and earth. Heaven and earth acknowledge them, but also guard against them. So what is the truth of heaven and earth? If I can understand this, I'll be one step closer to grasping the essence of the world. 4107, 4107. Chapter 4107, The Lord of Curses has not gone dormant. Lin Moyu's research into the nature of heaven and earth was growing ever deeper. The things he pondered were completely different from others. Even An Yuyan could not approach Lin Moyu's way of thinking, nor could she seek out the essence of heaven and earth from the tiniest details as he did. An Yuyan listened to Lin Moyu's words. She understood every word, but when strung together, they became a bit vague. As an eternal, she had a profound understanding of her own Tao in this world, but compared to Lin Moyu, she felt as if she knew nothing. There was a clear gap. What is the essence of heaven and earth? Why seek to understand it? How is it related to the great Tao, and what benefits does it bring? These were all questions. So this is the difference. And Yuyan sighed softly, admitting the gap between her and Lin Moyu. It was a difference in comprehension of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Lin Moyu had made it instinctive, something she could never catch up to. So An Yuyan stopped asking questions, not wanting to disturb Lin Moyu, and simply watched quietly from the side. The purification of the filth pool had reached the middle stage. At least half of the filth had been completely purified, and the pool was almost clear. Finally, at the bottom of the pool, true spirit imprints began to emerge from the filth. Lin Moyu had visited the space of true spirit imprints before, seen countless of them, and personally collected some. The moment they appeared, he sensed them clearly. And Yuyan, though an eternal, had little experience dealing with true spirit imprints. Lin Moyu muttered to himself, a filth pool is like a world, and this world breeds Tao wild beasts. The world holds the true spirit imprints, while the true spirits of the Tao wild beasts exist in heaven and earth. Heaven and earth acknowledge the existence of Tao wild beasts, but also guard against them devouring the great Tao. So what is the purpose of Tao wild beasts' existence? Suddenly, Lin Moyu thought of a possibility. The purpose of Tao wild beasts is to cultivate great Tao lords, to help them become eternals. After becoming a great Tao lord, to go further requires enough fate of heaven and earth, and also an unwavering will. But obtaining the fate of heaven and earth isn't easy, so the existence of Tao wild beasts provides great Tao lords with enough fate. If you are strong and daring enough, you can be like the Lord of Slaughter, accumulating fate by slaying Tao wild beasts and forcing open the gate of eternity. With this realization, Lin Moyu understood that heaven and earth always maintain balance. There is always a path for people. For great Tao lords, the existence of wild beasts is 10 roads to eternity. But what about the Eternals? Could the Beast Emperors also be their path? Lin Moyu faintly grasped a key point. To become the master of heaven and earth, perhaps he needed to start with the Beast Emperors. This was likely, and he decided that after becoming eternal, he would seek out the Beast Emperors to continue his research and find the way to become the master of heaven and earth. He had a faint feeling that becoming the master of heaven and earth was very important for him. Even if he took the final step and became a transcendent, there were still levels among transcendents. Chaos was not safe. He would need even greater power. There were still many mysteries to solve. Vanished small worlds, ancient battlefields in the great world, the god Shapagoda replica belonging to Meng Anwen, and the mysterious manner that appeared in the great world, all were puzzles to be unraveled. Finally, the true spirit imprints at the bottom of the pool were fully exposed. The soulless beast's light fell on them, and they began to smoke and dissipate. At the same time, the Tao wild beasts attacking furiously began to die in groups. With the destruction of their true spirit imprints, they could not survive, falling from the sky into the pool. The pool, full of purifying power, dissolved their bodies and devoured their souls. The soulless beast targeted the true spirit imprints directly, killing the Tao wild beasts by destroying their imprints, an incredibly efficient method. In just a moment, over 100,000 Tao wild beasts were dead or dying. The rest would not last long. Within a few minutes, they would all be gone. Some Tao wild beasts died at the shore, but the pool generated a powerful suction, as if giant hands dragged the beasts in. The soulless beast still lay atop the pool, seemingly doing nothing, yet it had already wiped out all the Tao wild beasts here. As their numbers dwindled, Lin Moyu withdrew the formation and watched with his own eyes. He and Yuyan hovered in the air, watching the whole process. And Yuyan sighed, so powerful it cleaned them all out so easily. Lin Moyu said, once purified, the filth pool will completely lose its function and should be renamed the clear pool. And Yuyan also noticed that after the soulless beast's purification, the pool itself gained a purifying effect. Any filth flowing in from underground would be purified immediately. The filth pool was gone, the clear pool had appeared. A few days later, when the soulless beast finished its purification, the sky suddenly darkened and thunder rumbled. Then a dazzling, vast fortune of heaven and earth descended upon Lin Moyu. Since the soulless beast was created by Lin Moyu, all its deeds were credited to him. Killing over 100,000 Tao wild beasts was nothing, transforming a filth pool into a clear pool was the real feat, and the fortune granted was immense. And Yuyan was amazed. Such powerful fortune of heaven and earth. Lin Moyu smiled, indeed, it's stronger than I expected. He felt that even if the immortality great Tao was absent from the origin land, with this fortune he could still knock on the gate of eternity and send his Tao through. If he purified 2 or 3 more pools, plus all the wild beasts he'd slain over the years, it would be more than enough. He had long since fulfilled the Candle Dragon's requirements. He'd killed countless Tao wild beasts. Thinking of the Candle Dragon, Lin Moyu's heart skipped a beat. After forcing the Lord of Curses into dormancy, the Candle Dragon hadn't appeared, nor had he punished the Sword Tao Spirit and the others. The matter seemed to have been left unsettled. Could the Candle Dragon have forgotten? Impossible. When they spoke, the Candle Dragon had agreed to settle things later. Since he hadn't appeared, it meant the matter wasn't over. This meant something was wrong. Lin Moyu turned to an Yuyan, Taoist Yuyan, help me check the state of the cursed Tao in the origin land. And Yuyan was also puzzled but did as asked, sending her mind into the origin land to check on the cursed Tao. After a moment, she opened her eyes and said, the cursed Tao is currently dormant. Lin Moyu was still uneasy. Just because the Tao was dormant didn't mean the problem was solved. The Fate Tao was also dormant, but the Lord of Fate was alive and well in the land of severed Taos. Lin Moyu said, compare the cursed Tao with the Fate Tao, see if there's any difference. And Yuyan did so and soon noticed something odd. The cursed Tao seems a bit more active than the Fate Tao, but the difference isn't great. Lin Moyu's voice grew heavy. The Lord of Curses hasn't truly gone dormant. 4108. 4108. Chapter 4108, each with their own thoughts. Making this judgment was not easy after all. Lin Moyu had personally killed the Lord of Curses, and the locations of his hidden avatars were found using the Seeking Cause ring. With such tangled karma, there should have been no mistakes. So at the time, Lin Moyu was certain that the Lord of Curses had been forced into dormancy. Now, without concrete evidence, to suddenly say the Lord of Curses had not gone dormant was to overturn his previous conclusion. And Yuyan felt this was unlikely. Could you be mistaken? Lin Moyu shook his head. I don't think so. And Yuyan said, let's not rush. Let's check again. She brought out a mirror. Trace cause, seek effect. The mirror revealed a scene from the origin land, and a thread of karmic power landed on the cursed Tao. After sensing for a while, and Yuyan frowned. There's no karma. Judging by karma, the Lord of Curses should be dormant. Lin Moyu said, karma isn't always accurate. There are many ways to shield karma. Can you show me the state of the origin land so I can take a look? And Yuyan nodded and activated her power, projecting an image of the origin land with the mirror. This clearly put a lot of strain on her. The origin land is the core of heaven and earth, shrouded by invisible power that does not permit outsiders to spy on it. To enter the origin land, one must either be an eternal or, like Lin Moyu, have their own great Tao within it. Even so, one must still pass a test. And Yuyan's act of revealing the origin land's state came at a great cost. Lin Moyu knew this, so he looked quickly. He locked onto the cursed Tao. On the surface, it appeared dormant, but Lin Moyu could see that inside, great Tao power was still flowing very slowly, but different from other dormant Taos. That's enough, Lin Moyu said, stopping her. And Yuyan stopped at once. Well, Lin Moyu said, the Lord of Curses truly hasn't gone dormant. And Yuyan's expression changed. Are you sure? Lin Moyu was certain, but he knew finding the Lord of Curses would not be easy. Whether he was dormant or not made a big difference. If he was dormant, he would enter reincarnation, his true spirit being reborn. Reincarnation is not always successful. He might be reborn as a blade of grass, a tree, or a void beast. In a new life, he might not awaken intelligence or return to the path of cultivation. It might take many lifetimes to get back on the path, and even then, there's no guarantee he'd return to the Tao at most. He'd have an advantage in talent and affinity for his Tao, but could still die along the way. After countless cycles, he would eventually return, but how long that would take is uncertain, maybe hundreds of thousands or even millions of years. So as long as the Lord of Curses could be forced into dormancy, that would be enough. By the time he returned, Lin Moyu believed he would be able to crush him with ease. But now, since the Lord of Curses had not gone dormant, he had a way to recover. It would still take a long time, but the process was completely different. Lin Moyu's greatest worry was not that the Lord of Curses would come after him, but that he would target the origin continent. The Lord of Curses knew where the origin continent was. Before, he hadn't cared, but now, who could say? And Lin Moyu couldn't return to the origin continent right now. And Yuyan also considered this. What do you plan to do? Lin Moyu thought for a moment. There are only two ways. One is to find him and find a way to kill him. The other is for me to advance to Eternal and leave the battlefield of heaven and earth. Actually, there was a third way. After becoming Eternal, destroy the cursed Tao in the origin land. That would be the most thorough solution. The Lord of Curses would not just be dormant, but truly dead. But Lin Moyu knew he couldn't do that yet. The second way, even if he became Eternal and left the battlefield, he couldn't always guard the origin continent. He'd have to leave sometime. Now that the Lord of Curses was once again hidden, who knew when he'd strike? So the only real solution was the first, find him and kill him. The problem was how to find him. And Yuyan said, you don't need to worry. For the next 200 or 300 years, he won't be able to stir up trouble. After such heavy injuries, he'll need time to recover 200 or 300 years at least, maybe more. Lin Moyu thought about it and had an idea. Let's go to the Ungduan Mountains. And Yuyan asked, what are you going to do? Lin Moyu replied, I'm going to find someone, maybe he can help. And Yuyan was puzzled. She couldn't imagine who Lin Moyu could find. Even her cause and effect Tao couldn't locate the Lord of Curses. Could anyone else? Besides, she knew everyone in the Ungduan Mountains. Lin Moyu didn't say who, only that she'd know when they got there. After the filth pool was completely purified, the soulless beast looked up at Lin Moyu and let out a crisp call, full of affection. Then it jumped into the pool, entered the underground filth river, and headed for another pool. The soulless beast had its own rhythm. Lin Moyu didn't interfere. The two of them crossed the plain at top speed, arriving at the Ungduan Mountains. Facing the towering range again, Lin Moyu was still a bit awed. Such a mountain range, connecting heaven and earth like a giant wall blocking disaster, could not be found anywhere else. The Sword Emperor was waiting at the foot of the mountains, and sensing Lin Moyu and Yuyan's auras, he flew over in a streak of light. All done? The Sword Emperor asked. Lin Moyu nodded. All done. Let's go, I'll send you back. The Sword Emperor said, "All right, but don't forget what you promised, deal with Tun Yuan quickly." After the battle with the Lord of Curses, the Sword Emperor trusted Lin Moyu a bit more. He felt Lin Moyu was not only mysterious, but also highly capable. Even an Eternal could be outmaneuvered by him. And since it was Lin Moyu who crippled Tun Yuan, he was probably the best person to deal with him. The Sword Emperor also had a feeling that if he ever went up against Lin Moyu, he might end up the unlucky one. He wanted to take his findings back to his clan and inform the other emperors, especially about the soulless beast, which needed to be discussed. And Yuyan activated the Ungduan Mountains formation, and with different thoughts in their hearts, they quickly reached the land of severed Daos. This time, Yuyan accompanied Lin Moyu into the land of severed Daos, witnessing firsthand how Lin Moyu turned it into a smooth path. On his third journey through the land of severed Daos, Lin Moyu was faster than ever, just over 20 days to cross it. At the Spirit Demon clan's exit, Lin Moyu said farewell to the Sword Emperor. "I won't go any further. Thank you, Sword Emperor. Once I've dealt with Tun Yuan, I'll visit your clan again." The Sword Emperor was preoccupied and didn't think much of it. "All right, we'll wait for your news." He turned and left, and Yuyan remarked, "He seems preoccupied." Lin Moyu could guess why. "Don't worry about him, let's go meet someone." 4109, 4109. Chapter 4109, The Sub-Soul. Within Yuyan, Lin Moyu retraced his steps through the land of severed Daos, twisting and turning until they returned to the space where the Lord of Fate resided. Seeing the dense cracks, Yuyan was clearly nervous. She hadn't expected such a special space to exist within the land of severed Daos. Yet, she saw no one there. Suddenly, Lin Moyu pulled her into a dark corner and whispered, "Conceal all your aura." Yuyan complied at once, and the two of them seemed to vanish. Unless someone came very close, they would not be noticed. Under Yuyan's gaze, a crack suddenly widened and glowed, and waves of strange energy surged out. The aura grew more and more powerful, filling the entire space with heavy pressure. Yuyan could hear her own heartbeat. For some reason, she felt nervous, an emotion she hadn't experienced in countless years since her early cultivation days. Here, with Daos suppressed and power difficult to use, she felt as if she'd returned to the beginning of her path, and the emotion surfaced instinctively. As she watched, a giant bird burst from the crack, letting out a sharp, grating cry. Yuyan went on high alert. She could sense the bird's terrifying power, and even outside the land of severed Daos, it seemed capable of killing her. Her heart raced and her breathing grew heavy. Such a thing could only happen here. Lin Moyu signaled with his eyes not to worry, and under his gaze, Yuyan gradually calmed down. After a while, another crack erupted with a powerful suction, trying to pull the bird away. The bird resisted for a while, but was eventually sucked away, leaving behind a mass of chaotic energy. Lin Moyu whispered, "It's over." Yuyan exhaled deeply, visibly relaxing. "What was that?" "Chaos creature," Lin Moyu replied. Yuyan gasped, "A chaos creature?" She knew of chaos creatures, but had never seen one. This was her first time, and she truly felt their power. She asked, "Why do chaos creatures come here?" Lin Moyu explained, "This is where heaven and earth absorb chaotic power. Chaos creatures are just sucked in, they can't stay in this world and are sent back." With that, he stepped out of the darkness, and Yuyan hurried to follow. She dared not get lost here, as returning would be difficult. Lin Moyu navigated the cracks and soon reached the area where the Lord of Fate resided. The Lord of Fate sat with eyes closed, seemingly comprehending something, and Lin Moyu did not disturb him. A peculiar aura flowed around the Lord of Fate, different from great Tao power, seemingly even higher. Lin Moyu smiled. The Lord of Fate had clearly made progress on his final step. Yuyan saw the Lord of Fate and was surprised. "There's someone here." She could tell he was an Eternal, but couldn't match him to any Tao. Here, with Tao suppressed, the Lord of Fate had little Tao aura. Lin Moyu introduced him. "This is the Lord of Fate." Yuyan's expression shifted. "So it's him." The Fate Tao was one of the original 8 great Taos, and the Lord of Fate was among the earliest to attain the Tao. He had gone dormant over his final step, and even now his Tao was still dormant. Lin Moyu said, "The Lord of Fate has long since revived, but here, Taos are suppressed, so he seems dormant." Yuyan understood. "No wonder you had me check the cursed Tao earlier, so Taos can't fully reveal if one is dormant. You came to the Lord of Fate to use the Fate Tao to find the Lord of Curses." Lin Moyu nodded. "Yes, though I don't know if he'll help." At that moment, the Lord of Fate's aura fluctuated, and a voice sounded, Taoist Lin, you seek the Lord of Curses. Yes, Lin Moyu replied. He escaped, and I can't find him with the cause and effect Tao, so I came to trouble you. May I ask, what is your relationship with him? The Lord of Fate answered calmly, we are both among the original 8 great Taos, but his origin differs from ours. He is not a true cultivator. He attained the Tao from the first drop of filthy blood in the world, evolving it into the sea of filthy blood. His body and soul are filthy, we all kept our distance, lest his Tao taint us. Do you have a grudge with him? Lin Moyu was relieved by this answer. After reviving, he schemed to take my body, but I turned the tables. We fought a great battle not long ago, and I destroyed his 39 avatars, but he used some method to escape. Now he's hiding, and I fear he'll retaliate against my friends, so I want to find him and force him into dormancy. He briefly recounted the events. The Lord of Fate studied Lin Moyu. In this special environment, he couldn't see what was special about Lin Moyu's body. It must be related to your immortality great Tao. His true body is the sea of filthy blood, so he has many avatars scattered everywhere. For you to destroy 39 of them is already impressive. He glanced at An Yuyan, assuming Lin Moyu had succeeded with her help as the Lord of Cause and Effect. He continued, but you surely don't know that, besides the 39 Blood Sea avatars, he also has a sub-soul. He attained the Tao from the first drop of filthy blood. When the filthy blood evolved into the sea of filthy blood, a tiny bit was left, forming his sub-soul. The sub-soul is useless most of the time, but if his main soul is defeated and forced into dormancy, the sub-soul is activated, regathers the blood energy of heaven and earth, and re-evolves the sea of filthy blood to revive him. I don't know how long the process takes, but it shouldn't be too long. Your worry is justified. He is vengeful and has no bottom line. At his peak, he might care about his reputation, but now So I must trouble you, Lin Moyu said. From the Lord of Fate's tone, Lin Moyu could tell he truly had the power to find the Lord of Curses. Of all Eternals, the two who understood everything in the world best were the Lord of Time and the Lord of Fate. The Lord of Time knows the past, the Lord of Fate knows the future. The Lord of Time is still influenced by the spirit of time, so the Lord of Fate may know even more. The Lord of Fate said, I'll do my best to find him. If I fail, don't blame me. Lin Moyu smiled, you jest. This is my request, success or failure, I'll always remember your help. The Lord of Fate chuckled, then let's begin. His aura slowly rose, as if opening a special space. In the origin land, the dormant Fate Tao suddenly began to boil. 4110, 4110. Chapter 4110, How to be worthy of your heart. The land of severed Taos suppresses all great Taos, yet now the Fate Tao appeared within it, which astonished An Yuyan. She didn't understand how the Lord of Fate could accomplish this. Could it be that the 8 great Taos that existed since the beginning of heaven and earth have some special qualities? An Yuyan's mind raced. Lin Moyu said, congratulations, senior, your years of enlightenment have finally borne fruit. The Lord of Fate chuckled, it's all thanks to your advice, Taoist Lin. If I'd heard it earlier, I wouldn't have wasted so many years. Lin Moyu replied, that's also due to your years of accumulation. If you'd heard it earlier, it might not have had the same effect. They exchanged polite words. The Lord of Fate sighed, it's been a long time since I looked in on the origin land. Let me take a look. With that, his consciousness entered the origin land, observing the other great Taos. His actions drew the attention of the other Eternals who were not currently dormant. They all realized the Lord of Fate had awakened. Many phantoms appeared in the origin land to greet him. The Lord of Fate was a senior to most of them. A moment later, the Lord of Fate's consciousness returned. The old friends of those years are about to return as well. It was as if he saw the future, the scene of those friends returning. He looked at Lin Moyu and said, Taoist Lin, you really are unfathomable. Lin Moyu understood what he meant. There are always some special things in heaven and earth that are not within the Fate Tao. He himself was not within the Fate Tao or the cause and effect Tao, as if he had stepped outside of heaven and earth, truly a very special existence. The Lord of Fate didn't dwell on it. He reached out, and the Fate Tao transformed into a whisk of 10,000 threads in his hand. The Lord of Fate said softly, with this whisk of 10,000 threads, I sweep through the destinies of all beings in heaven and earth. As he spoke, the whisk turned into countless threads that pierced the void, passing through the destinies of countless beings and glimpsing the future. Through his perspective, the Lord of Fate sensed the information returned by the whisk. Gradually, a thread of red light appeared in the whisk. The Lord of Fate had found the Lord of Curses. He flicked out a ball of light, which burst open to reveal a scene in the void. He's right there. The outer battlefield formation, Lin Moyu and Yuyan said in unison. The image showed the formation on the outer battlefield. Deep within the formation, a drop of crimson blood was rolling and greedily absorbing the power of heaven and earth, growing stronger. At the same time, the War Emperor's phantom appeared in the formation. Everything looked normal on the battlefield, but the eyes faintly glowed red. Lin Moyu said, I should have thought of it. That guy once controlled the War Emperor, so it's very likely he hid his sub-soul there. The Lord of Fate said, the sub-soul is fragile, so it rarely leaves the body. When he entered the battlefield, he must have brought the sub-soul with him. This time, to deal with you, he placed the sub-soul elsewhere clearly as a precaution. Lin Moyu said, the most dangerous place is the safest. Hiding the sub-soul elsewhere is less safe than hiding it right under our noses, where I wouldn't suspect it. He was still puzzled. How did his sub-soul evade the cause and effect Tao? The Lord of Fate smiled. Look beneath the sub-soul. Lin Moyu looked and saw a stone beneath the sub-soul, a heaven-shrouding stone. Suddenly enlightened, Lin Moyu said, so he used a heaven-shrouding stone. The Lord of Fate said, no, he didn't enter the gate himself. Someone else did, obtained the heaven-shrouding stone, and was then killed by him, so the stone ended up in his hands. He used the heaven-shrouding stone to block the heavens and hide the sub-soul. In all heaven and earth, only I and that one other can know the sub-soul's whereabouts. But that one won't tell you. Lin Moyu said, the one you mean is Senior Candle Dragon, right? The Lord of Fate nodded slightly. He abides by the rules. He won't say what shouldn't be said. Lin Moyu had already guessed Candle Dragon's identity. Since he couldn't get confirmation here, he didn't press further. The whisk of 10,000 threads dissipated, turning back into the Fate Dao and vanishing into the void. The Lord of Fate's Dao aura quickly receded, and in the blink of an eye, he returned to his previous appearance. Only Lin Moyu could sense the faint special aura on him. To an Yuyan, he was just an ordinary old man. Lin Moyu bowed slightly. Senior, I'll take my leave now. The Lord of Fate said, I wish you success, Taoist Lin. But that one has many tricks, so don't let your guard down. Lin Moyu replied, I understand. This time, he won't have another chance. After bidding farewell to the Lord of Fate, Lin Moyu and Yuyan left together. And Yuyan noticed Lin Moyu seemed troubled. Taoist Lin, you seem preoccupied. Lin Moyu said, Taoist Yuyan, you should know about the formation spirit of that formation. And Yuyan replied, the War Emperor. He was once a great Tao Lord, and after falling, gave up reincarnation to become the formation spirit, guarding the battlefield and making great contributions to heaven and earth. Lin Moyu sighed. Yes, the War Emperor did much for heaven and earth. If I kill him, it wouldn't be right. And I have a friend, Saint Heart, the Lord of Life, who was adopted by the War Emperor and views him as family. Now, the Lord of Curses is not only hiding beneath the formation, but is also bound together with the War Emperor. Lin Moyu had already noticed this, which was why he was troubled. With his strength, defeating the Lord of Curses would be easy. A one palm would do it, but it would destroy the War Emperor as well. That would be an injustice to the War Emperor, who gave so much, and would be hard to explain to Saint Heart. Lin Moyu always acted with a clear conscience, and if he directly destroyed the battlefield, it would violate his principles and damage his Tao heart. For any reason, he felt he couldn't do it. But the Lord of Curses had to die. Lin Moyu was troubled, searching for a perfect solution. And Yuyan understood his difficulty and helped him think. But even after leaving the land of severed Taos and regaining their Tao power, she still couldn't find a suitable method. The Lord of Curses' sub-soul had fused with the War Emperor. If it couldn't be separated, the War Emperor would not survive. Just as they entered the Ungduan Mountains, the Lord of Power appeared before Yuyan. You're finally back. And Yuyan asked, is something wrong? The Lord of Power said, something seems to have happened in the Great Wilderness. Those guys have been restless lately. Lin Moyu and Yuyan immediately thought of Tun Yuan, but it might also be what the Lord of Curses mentioned of the Beast Emperor's plans. And Yuyan said, let me take a look. She planted a fruit in her palm and used the cause and effect Tao to peer into the great wilderness. Suddenly, her body trembled and her face turned pale. She had suffered some backlash from the Tao. The fruit in her palm exploded, and a projection appeared. 4111. 4111. Chapter 4111. Knocking on the Gate of Eternity Again. This time, the backlash was not severe, and Yuyan was not injured. The great Tao of cause and effect is both wondrous and powerful, but its strength comes with considerable side effects. In the vision, the situation in the great wilderness was revealed. The great wilderness was vast, and Yuyan, using the cause and effect Tao, precisely located the problematic area. It was a filth pool, where there had been a fierce battle. Great wilderness beasts surrounded a single beast, the scene chaotic, like a riot among the beasts. Among the attackers were many beast kings. Logically, with so many attacking one beast, it should have died quickly. But in reality, that beast, not even a beast king, erupted with immense power, killing many others before finally falling into the filth pool, seemingly dead. But soon after, another beast emerged from the pool, and the others attacked it like they'd seen a mortal enemy. The cycle repeated. The Lord of Power said, "So that's what's happening. What's wrong with these beasts?" And Yuyan muttered, "This beast isn't normal." She looked to Lin Moyu, instinctively trusting his judgment over her own. Lin Moyu said, "Indeed, it isn't normal. In fact, that's not a beast at all, it's Tun Yuan." And Yuyan's expression changed. "You mean Tun Yuan has taken over a beast's body?" Lin Moyu nodded. When Tun Yuan's soul escaped, his last remnant was extremely resilient. The Sword Emperor chased him for decades, but he repeatedly escaped, finally fleeing into the dark river and into the great wilderness. There, he found a filth pool full of beast corpses, took one as his own, and fought other beasts. He kills and devours beasts to recover his strength. With so many beasts, he can't win, but he also can't die. If he loses, he just returns to the pool and takes a new body. Again and again, he can slowly recover. The process will be long, but eventually, he'll return to full strength. Meanwhile, the great wilderness will know no peace. With Tun Yuan in the great wilderness and the soulless beast in the outer battlefield, Yuyan suddenly felt the days of the wild beasts were numbered. All of this was brought about by Lin Moyu. This young great Tao Lord had single-handedly brought the wild beasts to the brink of doom. Perhaps soon, their mission would truly end, and they would no longer have to guard the great wilderness day and night. The problem of the wild beasts might finally be solved. And Yuyan withdrew her Tao. There's nothing urgent in the great wilderness. Let him cause trouble if he wants. The Lord of Power trusted her judgment. All right, we'll keep watch as usual. Are you back for good, or heading out again? And Yuyan replied, I still have things to handle. I'll return when I'm done. The Lord of Power didn't press. All right, I'll stay here. Contact me if you need anything. Leaving the Ungduan Mountains, and Yuyan said, who knows what Tun Yuan will do to the great wilderness, or whether the soulless beast and Tun Yuan will eventually clash. Lin Moyu looked toward the great wilderness. Two tigers cannot share one mountain. They'll probably fight, but maybe they'll end up in a standoff. And Yuyan was startled. You mean what the Lord of Curses Sahida, the one the beast emperors are cultivating? Lin Moyu said, yes. The Lord of Curses may be sinister, but he's still an eternal, he wouldn't say such things lightly. Also, I just sensed a powerful force gathering deep within the great wilderness, perhaps exactly what he warned about. And Yuyan said, I used the cause and effect Tao just now and found nothing. Lin Moyu replied, the beast emperors may have blocked cause and effect. There are plenty of ways to do that. And Yuyan didn't argue. Lin Moyu was right. At this point, all they could do was take things one step at a time. Even if the beast emperors were up to something, they couldn't interfere. The core of the great wilderness was a forbidden zone, and even all the Eternals together might not be able to enter. But he might be the exception, and Yuyan thought, glancing at Lin Moyu. She knew his strength and his endless army of undead servants, which seemed to grow stronger as he did. If Lin Moyu became an Eternal, his undead might reach the power of beast kings or even top Tao lords. In that case, he alone could sweep the great wilderness but the beast emperors could stop him. If he wanted to storm the core, it might not be impossible. After some thought, and Yuyan said seriously, there's something I want to tell you. Lin Moyu asked, what is it? You sound serious. And Yuyan said, this is a secret only a few of us know. It's said that in the core of the great wilderness, there's a forbidden zone. But it's just a legend, we've never seen it. If you ever have the strength to reach the core, go alone. Don't tell anyone. Lin Moyu was puzzled. Why? And Yuyan said, because legend has it that the greatest secret of heaven and earth is hidden there. Whoever can reach it and solve the secret can surpass the Eternals. To surpass the Eternals is to take the final step and achieve transcendence. But thinking carefully, it also means becoming the master of heaven and earth. And Yuyan's words stirred Lin Moyue. Wasn't he searching for a way to become the master of heaven and earth? He hadn't expected the answer to come so directly. Thank you, Lin Moyue said. And Yuyan smiled. No need for thanks between us. They crossed the plain and returned to the 10 million origin mountains. The mountains were quiet. The soulless beast was purifying filth pools in the outer battlefield, so there were far fewer Dao wild beasts in the mountains. The next few beast tides would likely see very few Dao wild beasts. Arriving at Silent Dao Mountain, Lin Moyue brought in Yuyan to the formation he had set up before, the same one he used to fake knocking on the Gate of Eternity and lure the Lord of Curses into making a move. The formation was real, and so was the attempt to knock on the Gate of Eternity, though he hadn't used his full strength. Lin Moyue had mixed truth and falsehood to trick the Lord of Curses. If it had all been fake, the Lord of Curses wouldn't have fallen for it. Only by blending real and fake could he succeed. When he activated the formation and summoned the Gate of Eternity, Lin Moyue had sensed the arrival of the Candle Dragon. He remembered that when he first entered the Origin Ancestral Land and tried to enter the Origin Land, the Candle Dragon had appeared, as if guarding the entrance. Now, Lin Moyue activated the formation again, his aura rising as he once more knocked on the Gate of Eternity. 4112. 4112. Chapter 4112. This Venerable is busy. Once again, Lin Moyue knocked on the Gate of Eternity. When the projection of the Origin Land appeared and the Gate of Eternity manifested, Lin Moyue did not act immediately. The formation continued to operate, keeping the Gate of Eternity present. As soon as the Gate of Eternity appeared, Lin Moyue sensed the Candle Dragon had arrived, though he did not show himself. Lin Moyue called out, "Senior Candle Dragon, please show yourself." A few seconds later, a pair of giant eyes appeared in the sky, staring at Lin Moyue with a hint of displeasure. It was as if they were asking, "Are you toying with the Gate of Eternity? Summoning the gate but not knocking what else could it be but teasing?" Lin Moyue immediately understood the Candle Dragon's meaning and explained, "Please don't be offended, Senior. I'm not here to knock on the gate, but to find you. But you're too hard to find, so I had to use this method." The Candle Dragon's voice was low. "Why are you looking for me?" Lin Moyue said, "I want to ask Senior for a favor." No, the Candle Dragon refused without hesitation. He was a dragon of Principia, he wouldn't just help because someone asked. Lin Moyue thickened his skin. "Please don't refuse so quickly, Senior. If you have any conditions, we can discuss them. If there's something you need me to do, I'll do my best." A look of disdain flashed in the Candle Dragon's eyes, as if to say, "What could I possibly need you for?" Lin Moyue wasn't offended after all, he was the one asking for help. "Senior, please consider it. I'm sure there are things I can help with. And don't forget my abilities." And Yuyan listened from the side, feeling a bit awkward. She hadn't dealt with the Candle Dragon before, but she knew of his abilities, and couldn't imagine anything he couldn't do that would require help. But Lin Moyue spoke so confidently, she started to believe there might be something the Candle Dragon couldn't do. Lin Moyue had interacted with the Candle Dragon several times and understood him better. The Candle Dragon guarded this place and acted by the rules, not on a whim. Back in the virtual Kunlun Great Domain, the Candle Dragon had intervened against the Soul-Eating Spirit King and had shown an unusual reaction. Lin Moyue sensed that the Candle Dragon wanted to kill the Soul-Eating Spirit King. There must have been something on the Spirit King that the Candle Dragon needed, but he couldn't leave the world, and worried about the Spirit King entering it. He desired something, yet was concernated. This contradiction stuck with Lin Moyue as a future bargaining chip. The Candle Dragon seemed to realize something, and beams of light shot from his eyes, enveloping Lin Moyue. The light crashed down, shaking the entire mountain range and shattering much of the Origin Mountains. Silent Dao Mountain crumbled by a third, and the terrifying power became a gale that blew in Yuyan back 10,000 miles, unable to get close. But Lin Moyue, in the center of the light, was unharmed. Within the light, Lin Moyue slowly rose to be level with the Candle Dragon's eyes. The light intensified, covering everything so nothing could be seen. And Yuyan wasn't worried as she knew the Candle Dragon wouldn't harm Lin Moyue, just that he didn't want outsiders to know their conversation. Who would have thought, the Candle Dragon actually has things he can't do, and Yuyan murmured, finding Lin Moyue more and more remarkable. As the intense light faded, Lin Moyu found himself in darkness, with distant points of starlight. He'd been here before entering the origin ancestral land. This was where he obtained the yin-yang origin, the starting point for creating a new world. 2 points of light approached, quickly growing larger and coming before Lin Moyu. They were the candle dragon's eyes. Lin Moyu finally saw the candle dragon, a massive dragon with metallic scales, a classic divine dragon appearance, but with some human features to his face. He looked fierce and difficult to approach, especially his eyes, which held a killing intent as he stared at Lin Moyu. Compared to the candle dragon, Lin Moyu was tiny. Even a single scale was bigger than him. Lin Moyu willed his body to grow, becoming about the same size as the candle dragon, much more comfortable for conversation. What do you want help with? I'll say this first, if it's too much, I won't do it. The candle dragon's tone was proud, like a sovereign hearing a subject's petition. Lin Moyu knew he was mostly putting on an act and didn't mind. I know you won't do anything that breaks the rules. Listen first, then decide if it goes against your principles. Lin Moyu explained the situation with the War Emperor and the Lord of Curses. The candle dragon asked, is the War Emperor important to you? The fact that he didn't refuse immediately meant there was hope. The candle dragon viewed all beings as ants, even eternals. In his eyes, the War Emperor and the Lord of Curses were no different. Lin Moyu said, it's not about importance. I just want a clear conscience. If I destroyed the War Emperor directly, I'd feel guilty. He's guarded the battlefield for so many years. The candle dragon said, he did guard the battlefield for many years and accumulated a lot of heaven and earth fortune, but that's not enough. To solve this, you'll need a lot more heaven and earth fortune, or I can't help him. Lin Moyu asked, heaven and earth fortune? Can I give him mine? Lin Moyu possessed vast fortune, and didn't mind giving some to help the War Emperor. The candle dragon looked at him. Are you willing? Lin Moyu smiled. Of course. I said I only want a clear conscience. He's done a lot for cultivators, so helping him is the right thing to do. The candle dragon said, you have enough fortune. Give me a tenth, and I can help him. Lin Moyu grew interested in the uses of heaven and earth fortune. It seemed it had other uses besides the Gate of Eternity. But now wasn't the time to study it. All right, it's settled. Now, what do you want from me? He'd stated his request. Now it was the candle dragon's turn. If Lin Moyu couldn't meet the demand, the candle dragon wouldn't help. He just hoped it wouldn't be too difficult. The candle dragon remained proud. With your current strength, you can't do what I want. When you become eternal, I'll take you somewhere. Lin Moyu was surprised. It was something he could only do after becoming eternal. Clearly, it was even harder than he'd thought. But since he needed the candle dragon's help, he could only agree. All right, after I become eternal. The candle dragon grunted, bring out those little ones. It's time for their punishment. Lin Moyu smiled wryly. Didn't we agree to punish them after this was over? The candle dragon snorted, I decide when the punishment happens. No more nonsense. I'm very busy. 4113, 4113. Chapter 4113, The Candle Dragon's Rules. The candle dragon acts strictly according to rules, rarely bending them. He made it clear that unless the punishment was carried out, the matter could not be settled. Lin Moyu had no choice but to summon the Sword Dao Spirit and the others. The candle dragon looked at the reverse Dao Spirit and said, this little one doesn't need to be punished. Lin Moyu found this odd. After all, the reverse Dao Spirit had participated and played a significant role in disrupting the Lord of Curses techniques. Why? Lin Moyu asked curiously. The candle dragon snorted, why are you so strange? Isn't not being punished a good thing? It's not about good or bad, it's about principle, Lin Moyu replied. The candle dragon said, I don't care about that. I just follow the rules of heaven and earth. This little one doesn't have the aura of heavenly punishment, so I don't need to punish him. Of course, if you insist, I can oblige. Lin Moyu forced a laugh. I'm not that foolish. He immediately put away the reverse Dao Spirit and reminded, please go easy on them. The candle dragon glanced at him. I act by the rules. You have no right to interfere. Stand back, or I'll punish you too. Faced with the candle dragon's unyielding nature, Lin Moyu didn't argue further and could only hope the Sword Dao Spirit and the others would be lucky. It hadn't been easy to obtain these Dao Spirits, and he wasn't sure if he could ever get more Wood Origin treasures. Black clouds appeared in the void, purple lightning rolling within. Heavenly punishment was about to descend. The Sword Dao Spirit and the others braced themselves. Lin Moyu told them telepathically to resist with all their might and hold on to the end. According to the techniques, elemental liches wouldn't die, but this was heavenly punishment Lin Moyu wasn't confident they could survive. Boom! The thunder punishment descended, its terrifying aura sweeping through the void. Even distant starlight flickered from the impact. Lin Moyu's expression changed slightly. This thunder punishment seemed even stronger than last time. Is it because this is the second heavenly punishment? Last time, the punishment wasn't this fierce. Lin Moyu was genuinely worried for the little ones. He wasn't sure they could make it through. The thunder swallowed them up, but suddenly the true fire Tao spirit's voice sounded in his soul. Master, this thunder punishment doesn't hurt. Lin Moyu was stunned. The thunder punishment didn't hurt. The sword Tao spirit also sent a message. It's much easier than last time. I can even use the thunder to refine myself. The space Tao spirit agreed. It's really not strong, much weaker than before. Lin Moyu suddenly understood. The thunder punishment was all show, just for appearances. It was the Candle Dragon's doing. He had gone easy on them within the bounds of the rules. The Candle Dragon claimed to follow the rules, but clearly he was as lenient as possible. Lin Moyu glanced at the Candle Dragon in gratitude, but said nothing aloud. The Candle Dragon returned the look, as if warning Lin Moyu not to speak up. After the thunder came the wind of annihilation, which also looked fierce but was actually harmless. Each punishment looked terrifying but was not dangerous. Half a day later, the punishments ended, and the Tao spirits happily flew back to Lin Moyu, chattering non-stop. He put them away, restoring peace to the world. He bowed to the Candle Dragon. Thank you, Senior. The Candle Dragon snorted, no need for fake courtesy. Now let's get down to business. He moved slightly, and Lin Moyu saw a giant claw appear in the void. The claw reached out and grabbed two balls of light, one of yang origin, one of yin origin. The claw squeezed them together, forcibly merging them into the yin-yang origin. So violent, Lin Moyu thought. When he fused the yin-yang origin, it had taken great effort just to gather the two origins. But for the Candle Dragon, it was as easy as picking up objects, the gap in power unimaginable. Then the Candle Dragon extended another claw toward Lin Moyu's chest and said sternly, "Don't move, don't resist." Lin Moyu suppressed his instincts and let the claw press against his chest. "Come out," the Candle Dragon commanded. A burst of multicolored light erupted from the claw, and a ball of heaven and earth fortune was pulled from Lin Moyu's body. He could clearly feel something missing, a sense of lost fortune. The Candle Dragon said, "I've taken a tenth of your heaven and earth fortune, merged it with the yin-yang origin, and refined it into a fortune origin pill. When the time comes, crush the pill and use your soul power to scatter it into the formation where the War Emperor is. He'll then be able to break free from the Lord of Curse's control. After that, you can deal with him as you wish." With that, the origin pill was complete. Lin Moyu had refined pills before, but never like this. No furnace, the whole world was the furnace. This was a level beyond ordinary alchemists, and even the Lord of Pills couldn't compare to the Candle Dragon. The Candle Dragon tossed the origin pill to Lin Moyu. "Alright, go do your work. When you become eternal, I'll come find you. Remember your promise. If you break it, you know the consequences." His tone carried a hint of threat. Lin Moyu smiled, "Don't worry, Senior. I always keep my word." The Candle Dragon grunted and closed his eyes. Instantly, Lin Moyu felt the world spin and darkness fall. He was used to this sensation by now. A moment later, everything returned to normal, and a fragrant breeze brought an Yuyan before him. And Yuyan smiled. "It worked, didn't it?" Lin Moyu nodded. "It did. He really has a way." And Yuyan said, "Senior Candle Dragon rarely intervenes, but when he does, there's almost nothing he can't do. His existence is legendary. We don't really know his identity, only that he's omnipotent." Omnipotent. Lin Moyu knew that was an exaggeration. The Candle Dragon was powerful, but there were still things he couldn't do. Lin Moyu said, "Let's go back. I need to make some more preparations, just in case." "Alright," and Yuyan agreed, trusting Lin Moyu completely. His plans almost never failed. Even when surprises arose, he always resolved them. The Lord of Curses had many tricks, but against Lin Moyu, he was simply unlucky. The two returned to Burial Dao Valley, where Lin Moyu began setting up formations at the entrance, linking them with the valley's existing formations. As he said, the formations in Burial Dao Valley were powerful and shouldn't go to waste. One after another, the formations extended outward, like a dragon, reaching toward the formation where the War Emperor was. 4114, 4114. Chapter 4114, I respect your choice. From Burial Dao Valley to the War Emperor's location was 1,000,000 li, yet Lin Moyu extended his formation to within 1,000 li of the battlefield in less than 10 days. He cast divine runes on himself and Yuyan, concealing them both. His formation then spread to the left and right, running almost parallel to the formation cluster around the War Emperor. By doing this, Lin Moyu essentially added another layer outside the existing formation cluster. The original cluster was the result of tens of thousands of years of effort by the great Dao Lords. It had weathered countless storms, patched and reinforced until it became stable and powerful. There were over 10,000 formations, large and small, layered together in a complex web. But in Lin Moyu's eyes, this cluster was crude, almost laughable. The skills of those who set it up varied, the formations, strength and coordination were inconsistent, with many flaws. Its only advantage was that it was easy to repair, so even if the formation Dao Lord was absent, others could maintain it. Lin Moyu's new formation was far stronger and more profound. If damaged, it would be difficult for anyone but himself, even the formation Dao Lord, to repair. Each formation cluster had its own advantages, but Lin Moyu considered his the clear winner. After all, one shouldn't settle for less just because something is difficult, that would kill ambition. And Yuyan watched as Lin Moyu set up formation after formation, witnessing each one take shape from nothing. During this time, a filth tide arrived, followed by a wave of Dao wild beasts. Lin Moyu didn't activate his formation, acting as if it didn't exist. The original battlefield's Dao Lords repelled the beast tide, which was much smaller than before, a result of the soulless beast's work. 3 months later, Lin Moyu's formation was complete, a massive network stretching millions of li. Once activated, it would be like a high wall, blocking the Dao wild beasts. The Dao Lord's defensive line was pushed forward by 1,000 li. But Lin Moyu hadn't done this for the Dao Lords, but for the War Emperor. His new formation, while structurally different, intentionally mimicked some aspects of the old one for the War Emperor's sake. It's time to act, Lin Moyu said quietly, heading to where the Lord of Curses was hiding. He called out, "Senior War Emperor, please open the door. I need to come in." A great door slowly opened, and the War Emperor's voice came from within, "Come in." He didn't show himself. Both Lin Moyu and Yuyan knew that if he did, Lin Moyu would spot the flaw. They entered, but didn't leave the formation. Lin Moyu took out the origin pill, crushed it with his soul power, and scattered it into the formation. Most of it landed where the Lord of Curses' subsoul was hidden. The War Emperor's voice, now filled with anger, rang out, "What are you doing?" He was forced to appear not by choice, but by the origin pill. Even as a formation spirit, he couldn't resist the power of yin-yang origin and heaven's fortune. The origin pill, refined by the candle dragon, turned to powder and stuck to the War Emperor, making him glow. Lin Moyu smiled, "Should I call you War Emperor, or Lord of Curses?" The War Emperor's expression changed dramatically. "What nonsense are you talking?" His tone was stern, but Lin Moyu and Yuyan could hear the shock and fear beneath it. Lin Moyu said, "Stop pretending. I've come this far. Do you really think you can keep up the act?" The War Emperor fell silent. With Lin Moyu's words, there was no point pretending. His expression changed, the kindly look vanishing, replaced by a ferocious face and eyes glowing red. Lin Moyu said, "That's more like it. The mighty Lord of Curses, parasitizing a formation spirit, how shameful." The Lord of Curses snorted, "How did you find me?" Lin Moyu smiled, "I have my ways, no need to explain. The real question is, what are you going to do? You have 2 options. First, go into dormancy voluntarily. I promise to spare you, so you'll have a chance to return someday. That's the path of life. Second, resist, and I'll force you into dormancy. Then, once I become eternal, I'll find a way to shatter your cursed Dao and kill you for good. Choose." He gave the Lord of Curses a final ultimatum. The Lord of Curses stared coldly at Lin Moyu, sneering as he raised his hand. Instantly, the formation showed the Dao Lord Hall, where the Dao Lords were unaware of the danger and went about their business, drinking tea, discussing Dao, playing chess, or cultivating. The hall and its surroundings were covered in formations. Another image appeared, the formation clusters on the battlefield. The Lord of Curses said, "All these formations are under my control. If you dare lay a hand on me, I'll detonate them all. The Dao Lords may not die, but they'll be gravely injured, and countless formations will be destroyed. Can you bear that responsibility?" He showed another scene. Saint Heart refining pills, surrounded by 8 cauldrons, each with its own formation. The Lord of Curses sneered, "If I blow those formations, your little girlfriend will die." At this, the Lord of Curses' expression changed. His body twisted, and he growled, "Get back. It's not your turn to speak." Parasitizing the War Emperor, he suppressed the War Emperor's will, but when Saint Heart was threatened, the War Emperor struggled fiercely. Unfortunately, he couldn't win, and the Lord of Curses instantly regained control. But by doing this, he revealed his choice to Lin Moyu. He was using the battlefield formations and Saint Heart as hostages. That sealed his fate. In that case, with a thought, Lin Moyu activated the origin pill. Brilliant light erupted from the Lord of Curses, freezing him in place. Not just his body, his will was sealed by the origin pill, severing his link to the formation. "Yua, what have you done?" The Lord of Curses was finally afraid. He never imagined Lin Moyu had so many tricks. To sever a formation spirit from its formation, he'd never even heard of such a thing. Lin Moyu smiled, "I respect your choice." The origin pill shone even brighter, and the powder on the sub-soul and the formation spirit resonated, linking together. The origin pill's powder drew the Lord of Curses' will out of the War Emperor and sent it back to the soul void. 4115. 4115. Chapter 4115, all settled. The Lord of Curses' will was forcibly drawn away by the origin pill and returned to his sub-soul. At the same time, the War Emperor regained control and once again became the formation spirit. He bowed to Lin Moyu, "Thank you, Taoist Lin, for saving me." Lin Moyu replied, 1,000 li outside the formation, there's a formation I set up. Go there and serve as the formation spirit." The War Emperor was momentarily confused by Lin Moyu's instructions. Lin Moyu repeated, "This place is about to become a battlefield. This formation cluster won't hold. Go to the new formation cluster, understand?" At this point, the Lord of Curses' sub-soul was struggling violently. Though weak, as the Lord of Curses, he still had the power of a great Tao, and even in this state was much stronger than an ordinary great Tao Lord. Once the fighting began, the formation would not last, and the War Emperor would certainly be harmed. Without another word, the War Emperor left the formation he had guarded for countless years, instantly flying 1,000 li to Lin Moyu's formation. He could see at a glance how powerful it was and immediately entered to begin adapting and taking control, all while keeping an eye on the original formation cluster. The Lord of Curses' sub-soul finally broke free from the origin pill's suppression. A blood-red avenue of curses appeared in the void, radiating eternal power that shook the Tao Lord Hall. Within the cursed Tao, countless evil spirits danced, threatening to unleash a terrifying curse upon the world. Noisy. Lin Moyu snorted coldly and unleashed his origin technique. Origin energy poured forth like a river, and Lin Moyu instantly broke through the Tao Lord realm, stepping into half-transcendence. Great Tao World-Ending Palm. With a single palm strike, a massive imprint appeared in the void, gathering endless Tao and origin energy to shatter the shadow of the cursed Tao. The evil spirits within the cursed Tao were annihilated, and the infinite curses dissipated. This earth-shattering palm stunned the Tao Lords in the hall, who froze in place. The terrifying power of the world-ending palm made them too afraid to move. The strength surpassed the Tao Lord realm, filling them with deep fear. What kind of technique is this? How can it be so strong? If that palm hit me, I'd be dead for sure. Is this the power of an Eternal? No, even an Eternal couldn't unleash a palm like that. The Tao Lords discussed in shock, and some, more knowledgeable, recognized the true terror of this strike. It surpassed even the Eternal level. After the cursed Tao's shadow was destroyed, the formation clusters began to collapse in a chain reaction. The formations that had taken the Tao Lords millennia to build couldn't withstand Lin Moyu's attack. Origin mountains shattered, the earth cracked, and the Lord of Curses' sub-soul was exposed in the ruins. A blood-formed, hideous figure, the Lord of Curses' sub-soul, appeared. The world-ending palm descended, its terrifying power making the Lord of Curses scream in agony. "I won't let you get away with this. Never," he shrieked, but this time he didn't even try to curse Lin Moyu. He knew it was useless. Lin Moyu said, "That depends on whether you ever get another chance." He struck again with the world-ending palm, this time from below. The two palms collided in the air, shaking the heavens and earth. The Tao Lords groaned, some clutching their ears and falling to their knees, others collapsing in pain. Only a few remained calm, watching the battle unfold. At the center of the clash, the Lord of Curses' sub-soul was crushed to pieces. Amidst his screams, he perished once again, the force of the two palms cancelling each other out and vanishing in midair. A gale carrying boundless Tao power swept in all directions, shattering mountains and formations. Fortunately, the Tao Lord Hall was far enough away that by the time the shockwave reached it, it had lost most of its force. Even so, the Tao Lords were shaken, grateful they hadn't gone to watch the fight up close. One palm destroyed the Lord of Curse's sub-soul, but the matter was not yet over. Lin Moyu's gaze swept the ground, and he quickly found an inconspicuous stone among the ruins, the heaven-shrouding stone. This was the item the Lord of Curses had used to hide his sub-soul from the cause and effect Tao. The heaven-shrouding stone, having been used, had lost most of its effect. Lin Moyu crushed it to dust. Watching the fragments fall, he smiled coldly. Truly a cunning rabbit, always leaving a back door. Taoist Yuyan, I'll need your help. And Yuyan nodded, spreading her hand as the cause and effect Tao appeared. She began seeking cause and effect, using her connection with the Lord of Curses to track him down. This time, the cause and effect Tao worked. A beam of light shot from her hand, heading far away. Lin Moyu followed, and the light led them tens of thousands of li to what looked like an abandoned origin mountain. Without hesitation, Lin Moyu struck the mountain with several palm strikes, shattering it completely. A special aura emerged from within. Lin Moyu laughed, as expected, the undying treasure jade. The heaven-shrouding stone and undying treasure jade worked best together. Since the Lord of Curses had used the stone to evade cause and effect, Lin Moyu suspected there might also be an undying treasure jade. After destroying the sub-soul and the stone, and Yuyan's cause and effect Tao worked again, leading them to the Lord of Curses, who was trying to revive using the undying treasure jade. As the Lord of Curses, he was powerful, but reviving with the undying treasure jade would take at least 100 years, since he'd left only a sliver of soul within it. The process was slow, but that was how he avoided detection. Unfortunately for him, he still couldn't escape Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu didn't strike immediately. Instead, he took out the seeking cause ring. Reverse cause to seek effect. He activated the ring, setting the Lord of Curses' death as the outcome and searching for every possible cause that could lead to it. As he used the ring, he said, Taoist Yuyan, keep an eye on the cursed Tao for any changes. And Yuyan nodded, sending her consciousness into the origin land to watch the cursed Tao closely. Lin Moyu endured the backlash from the seeking cause ring, revived in purple light, and soon received confirmation. The Lord of Curses had no more causes left. This was the last one. Great Tao world-ending palm. With another palm, he obliterated the Lord of Curses as he was reviving. At the same time, and Yuyan said, the cursed Tao let out a wail, then went completely silent. I checked, it's now identical to the other dormant Taos. She showed Lin Moyu the origin land, and after careful inspection, he confirmed the Lord of Curses was finally dormant and let out a sigh of relief. All settled. 4116. 4116. Chapter 4116. The Forbidden Zone of Heaven and Earth. Not only did Lin Moyu breathe a sigh of relief, but An Yuyan did as well, softly saying, yes, it's finally done. Lin Moyu joked, have you ever thought about how hard it is to actually kill an eternal? And Yuyan replied, it's definitely not easy, but the Lord of Curses was especially difficult. I'm starting to think I should make more avatars just in case something happens, at least I'll have a way out. Lin Moyu laughed, who would dare mess with you, Taoist Yuyan? If you go all out with the cause and effect Tao, you could drag anyone down with you. And Yuyan shook her head, you never know. What if they're as powerful as you? Lin Moyu was momentarily speechless, then took out a heaven-shrouding stone and an undying treasure jade. Please take these, Taoist Yuyan, just in case. And Yuyan accepted without hesitation, all right, this way I'll be prepared for someone like you. The two bantered as they returned to the formation Lin Moyu had set up. The War Emperor's phantom appeared, immediately bowing to Lin Moyu. Greetings, Taoist Lin. This time, he was especially respectful. Lin Moyu's display of power had left him in awe. Faced with someone so much stronger, the War Emperor could only submit. Lin Moyu could guess what the War Emperor was thinking but didn't bother to dwell on it. He simply smiled, Senior War Emperor, are you getting used to the new formation? The War Emperor replied, it's a very powerful formation, but it will take some time to fully control it. Lin Moyu said, this formation connects directly to Burial Dao Valley. Once you've mastered it, you can go there and take a look. It must get boring staying in one place all the time. The formation isn't fully complete yet. I'll leave the rest to the formation Dao Lord. I'm sure he'll be eager to perfect it. The War Emperor said, the Formation Tao Lord is obsessed with formations. This will be an irresistible challenge for him. I doubt he'll leave for the next 100,000 years. Lin Moyu chuckled, that's good. Let him stay here. 100,000 years. Lin Moyu thought it wouldn't even take that long for the Tao wild beasts to be completely wiped out. After that, there'd be no need to guard this place, and if the War Emperor wanted to move, Lin Moyu could help. The War Emperor asked quietly, Taoist Lin, is the Lord of Curses truly dormant now? Lin Moyu nodded. Last time in Burial Tao Valley, he managed to escape, but today it's finally settled. You can rest easy, no one will try to control you again. The War Emperor let out a huge sigh of relief. Thank you, Taoist Lin. Lin Moyu shook his head, it's what I should do. After saying goodbye to the War Emperor, Lin Moyu returned to the Tao Lord Hall and handed over all formation data to the Formation Tao Lord. He didn't even bother naming the new formation, he left that to someone else. Saint Heart was still refining pills, seemingly unaffected by the earlier battle. Over the years, she had refined countless pills and reached a deep understanding of the Tao of alchemy, almost enough to become the Alchemy Tao Lord. Some of the pills were for healing, but others weren't. Saint Heart hadn't said, and Lin Moyu didn't ask, it was her private matter. He'd told her before, if she needed anything, just ask, and he'd never refuse. After leaving the Tao Lord Hall, Lin Moyu headed for the 10 Million Origin Mountains to check on the soulless beast's progress. With the Lord of Curses dealt with, it was time to deal with the Tao wild beasts. The soulless beast was the first step. If things went as planned, it was only a matter of time before the Tao wild beasts were eliminated. But with Tun Yuan appearing in the Great Wilderness and the 9 Beast Emperors up to something, there were new variables. Before reaching the 10 Million Origin Mountains, a wave of heaven and earth fortune descended. Lin Moyu bathed in the rich fortune, feeling very comfortable. Over the years, fortune had descended many times, and his accumulation was deep. If he wanted to knock on the gate of eternity, he now had enough fortune, but he had his own ideas and didn't want to rely solely on fortune. Entering the 10 Million Origin Mountains, he found it even quieter. Almost no Tao wild beasts remained. The recent beast tides had already shown their numbers were dwindling. And Yuyan said, looks like the soulless beast is getting stronger and faster. Lin Moyu replied, when one rises, another falls. Once it finishes here, the real test will begin. And Yuyan nodded, yes. With Tun Yuan in the Great Wilderness, who knows what will happen if those two meet. Lin Moyu said, let's wait and see. The wild beasts hide a great secret. If we can unravel it, it will benefit us greatly. And Yuyan asked, what secret? Lin Moyu smiled, it's about the secret of how heaven and earth create life. And Yuyan's eyes narrowed, that's a forbidden zone. Lin Moyu said, the forbidden zone is defined by other cultivators, it doesn't concern me. When I first started cultivating, I saw a heavenly venerable try to create life in his own world, and he succeeded to some extent. I just want to keep exploring this secret. For beings like an Yuyan, heavenly venerables were like ants, she could kill thousands with a breath. But in the great world of that era, heavenly venerables were the limit, and when they reached the end of the road, they sought new paths such as the secret of creating life. But their vision was too limited. The great world and the origin continent were just specks of dust in the grand scheme. True creation of life didn't come from the great world or the origin continent, but from this heaven and earth itself. The great world was like a well, and the heavenly venerables were frogs in the well, thinking they'd touch the sky, but they hadn't. Eventually, they discovered the realm sea beyond the great world, and even greater worlds beyond that, and left. The path of creating life was abandoned. Lin Moyu had studied those heavenly venerables. Their so-called creation of life was just piecing together existing beings into chimeras. Lillian, still asleep in the crystal coffin, seemed to be improving but never truly awakened. Only by understanding the secret of creation or becoming the master of heaven and earth could Lin Moyu truly revive her. Otherwise, even finding the soul of a former heavenly venerable would be useless. And Yuyan said quietly, creating life is one of the greatest secrets of heaven and earth. We tried to explore it, but got nowhere. We called it a forbidden zone because, in the process, our accumulated fortune was rapidly depleted. What took 10,000 years to gain was lost in a month. We couldn't afford the price and realized heaven and earth didn't allow us to touch that area. But some refused to give up and kept deducing. They found that if anyone could comprehend the creation of life, they could forge a new world, become an existence on par with this heaven and earth, and surpass eternity. 4117, 4117. Chapter 4117, Not a single step can be stopped. And Yuyan held nothing back from Lin Moyu, revealing secrets that only the Eternals knew. In her view, Lin Moyu's strength had already reached the eternal level, and it wouldn't be long before he returned to the immortality Great Tao and became eternal again. Telling him these things didn't matter. The Eternals had lived countless years, exploring everything imaginable. Aside from their own final step, they had investigated other paths as well. After all, the final step was too difficult, almost impossible to complete. So, naturally, they sought alternatives. Unlike their personal final step, other paths could be discussed and researched together. Like Lin Moyu, they had set their sights on the secret of how heaven and earth create life. Anyone who could reach the eternal realm had extraordinary insight and had pushed their understanding of heaven and earth to the limit. In their exploration, they did indeed find another possible path to surpass eternity, comprehending the secret of creating life. They believed that if they could create life from nothing like heaven and earth, they could create another world, become an existence on par with this heaven and earth, and naturally surpass eternity. But this was extremely difficult. Some tried, but couldn't bear the consumption of heaven and earth fortune and ultimately failed. Even Eternals needed fortune more than great Tao Lords did. To take the final step, an Eternal needed incredible luck, and the most basic function of heaven and earth fortune was to enhance luck. Eternals would never give up their final step, so except for a few, fortune was extremely important to them. And Yuyan said, if the Tao wild beasts are dealt with, the heaven and earth fortune gained will be immense. Taoist Lin, your chances of succeeding in your final step will be much higher. Actually, I wanted to say, fortune is hard to come by. Even if you want to study the secret of life, don't spend it all, save some for yourself. Thank you for the reminder, Taoist Yuyan, Lin Moyu nodded, fully understanding her good intentions. Leaving the 10 million origin mountains, they saw traces left by the Tao wild beasts. Following these tracks for tens of thousands of li, they finally heard the angry roars of the beasts again. And Yuyan joked, it's so quiet in the 10 million origin mountains now, it feels strange. Lin Moyu said, you'll get used to it. It'll be even quieter in the future. Eventually, there would be no more Tao wild beasts in the 10 million origin mountains. Lin Moyu even considered using the mountains for cultivation, since they were filled with primordial Tao energy. If he could draw it out for training, the effects would be astonishing. He could absorb and collect Tao origin energy himself, but it was still different from the primordial Tao energy that had existed since the beginning of the world. The origin energy in the mountains was not only useful for cultivation, but also beneficial to his great thousand world. Following the sounds, they soon saw the Tao wild beasts, a million of them gathered together, blocking out the sky. It was obvious this was because of the soulless beast. And Yuyan said, this is much bigger than last time. Lin Moyu replied, the soulless beast has grown. He pointed, revealing a scene through his connection with the soulless beast. Above a filth pool, the soulless beast lay in the center, emitting a faint glow that reached the bottom of the pool, illuminating it completely. The purification was nearly finished, and much faster than before. And Yuyan remarked, it's bigger than last time. Lin Moyu said, not just bigger, but stronger, with new abilities. The soulless beast, once tiny, was now over a meter long, much larger and far more powerful. Its glow not only purified the pool but also powerfully attracted the Tao wild beasts. A single filth pool couldn't produce so many beasts, the million gathered here came from at least 3 pools. Normally, the beasts wouldn't care about other pools, but they were drawn here by the soulless beast. Clearly, the soulless beast intended to take out all million beasts at once. Some of them were beast kings, but the soulless beast was confident. Its light was like a deadly lure, drawing the beasts in. Even as the sky was blotted out, the glow leaked into the distance, attracting even more beasts. With purification nearly complete, Lin Moyu whispered, the little one is about to act. When the pool was fully purified, the soulless beast moved, its body becoming a sphere of light. The faint glow instantly became blinding. The image Lin Moyu projected showed nothing but dazzling light. And Yuyan changed her approach, no longer watching the image but directly observing the pool. She saw the wild beasts being purified, falling into the pool and vanishing. They came from the pool, and in death, returned to it, their bodies to the pool, their souls absorbed by the soulless beast for nourishment. The purification was many times faster than before. Even the beast kings couldn't last more than a few seconds longer than ordinary beasts. Lin Moyu said, dust to dust, earth to earth. They came from the pool and now return to it like fallen leaves returning to their roots. And Yuyan laughed, who says that? Fallen leaves returning to roots. Lin Moyu said, it's close enough. The world is a great cycle, everything returns to where it came from, even heaven and earth itself. And Yuyan's understanding of heaven and earth couldn't compare to Lin Moyu's. His experience with the Great Thousand World gave him insights far beyond others. She sighed, everything has an end. So-called eternity is just eternity within this heaven and earth. If the world is destroyed, we can't be eternal. That's why we must take the final step, transcend this world, and gain true eternity. Lin Moyu smiled, exactly. That's why we can't stop for a single step. More and more Dao wild beasts were purified. In just half a day, fewer than half of the million remained. Drawn by the light, the beasts rushed in like moths to a flame, dying and falling into the pool. The pool seemed bottomless no matter how many corpses fell in, it never changed. When all the beasts were purified, the soulless beast dove into the pool, giving it a thorough cleansing. This time, it didn't even use the true spirit imprints in the pool, just its own power to purify a million Dao wild beasts. Its strength had grown many times over in this short period. 4118, 4118. Chapter 4118, The Giant Claw. The soulless beast plunged into the filth pool, purifying it a second time and drawing out all the true spirit imprints within for purification. The pool was left completely clean, never again could it produce another Dao wild beast. Root and branch were eradicated, the soulless beast's work was thorough. Whoosh! The soulless beast shot out of the pool as a streak of light, stopping in front of Lin Moyu. Its beastly eyes fixed on Lin Moyu with a hint of cuteness, even a bit of clueless innocence. Everything it did was purely instinct. The soulless beast had no soul and couldn't even be considered a true living being. Even after devouring so many wild beast souls, it still lacked a soul. Yet it showed a certain intelligence, one of heaven and earth's mysteries that even Lin Moyu couldn't explain. There was a natural closeness between the soulless beast and Lin Moyu. It let out a crisp cry, as if calling to a loved one, then turned and dove back into the pool, leaving through the dark river at the bottom to seek its next target. Throughout the process, fortune from heaven and earth continuously descended upon Lin Moyu. Purifying the pools and Dao wild beasts was seen as a great merit by the world, so fortune naturally followed. The soulless beast seemed not to need fortune. As its creator, all that fortune fell to Lin Moyu. A hint of envy flashed in Yuyan's eyes. Taoist Lin, I've never seen anyone with as much fortune as you. Lin Moyu replied, when the human emperor and the Lord of Slaughter knocked on the gate of eternity, their fortune wasn't lacking either. And Yuyan said, true, but I still think yours is greater. Lin Moyu smiled, this is only the beginning, there'll be even more in the future. They continued across the plain. Though vast, and Yuyan knew exactly how many filth pools lay within. Along the way, they saw several more that had already been purified. And Yuyan said, looks like something really is happening with the beast emperors. If not, they'd have reacted to so many pools being purified, probably by launching a great beast tide as a warning. Here, outside the great wilderness, the beasts weren't as strong, and Eternals could come and go freely, having long since explored the area thoroughly. If not for certain restrictions, they'd have wiped out all the Dao wild beasts ages ago. It wasn't that they didn't want to, it was that they couldn't. Lin Moyu said, no one knows what the Lord of Curses discovered back then, and you can't fully trust what he said. But now that Tun Yuan has entered the great wilderness, he'll bring the beasts a lot of trouble. Even if the beast emperors want to intervene, they'll have to deal with Tun Yuan first. This gives the soulless beast a chance to purify all the pools here. And Yuyan said, there are 36 filth pools on the outer battlefield plain. We've already seen 21 purified, only 15 left, and they'll probably be done soon. After that, the soulless beast will likely head to the great wilderness, where it'll meet Tun Yuan. Who knows which one is stronger? Lin Moyu said, that's hard to say. Let's go to the great wilderness and see for ourselves. So far, the soulless beast had only shown its purifying power, its true combat strength was unknown. Since it wasn't a true living being, no one could judge its level. The two left the plain and headed for the Ongduan Mountains. As soon as they arrived, the Lord of Power came to meet them, looking uneasy and even a bit anxious. You're finally back. And Yuyan sensed trouble. What's happened now? The Lord of Power said, come with me. He led them through the Ongduan Mountains to a spot near the great wilderness. There, a small mountain peak had collapsed. Judging by the traces, it had fallen only recently. This was an origin mountain, and all the primordial Tao energy within was gone. Now, the mountain lay on its side, part of it already sunken into the earth, and at this rate, it might vanish completely in a few years. But that wasn't the key point. The mountain had once contained a natural formation, which was now destroyed. If the formation hadn't been broken, the origin mountain wouldn't have collapsed. The natural formation had been linked to the formation cluster in the Ungduan Mountains, so how was it destroyed alone? Lin Moyu could tell the formation had been shattered by an external force, a very powerful one. And Yuyan knew this origin mountain and looked grave. How could a natural formation like this be destroyed? The Lord of Power said, half a month ago, the beasts launched a great tide, about 1 million of them. I, the human emperor, and Old Five defended, and it was fine at first. But then, a giant claw descended from the sky, smashing this formation. The formation was instantly broken. And Yuyan asked, if the formations are linked, why did only this one break? The Lord of Power shook his head. I'm no expert in formations. It's strange, but I don't get it. The human emperor and Old Five are a bit better, but they didn't understand either. The real formation expert is in seclusion and can't be reached. And Yuyan's formation skills were only slightly better than the Lord of Power's. She couldn't figure it out either. She turned to Lin Moyu. Taoist Lin, take a look. Lin Moyu had already begun his inspection. Clearly, the formation cluster should rise and fall as one. How could only one be destroyed? The remains alone revealed nothing. He needed to reconstruct the scene. He sent out a host of undead servants, encircling the fallen origin mountain. Time reversal. The undead used the time great Tao to replay the scene. Just as the Lord of Power described, a giant claw descended from the sky and struck the formation cluster. The cluster had already been activated, but against the claw, the other formations failed to respond. The entire cluster was rendered useless in an instant, leaving only the natural formation to resist. It was crushed, and the claw also flattened the mountain, making it impossible for the formation to recover. The Lord of Power said, that's exactly it. The other formations seemed fine. And Yuyan said, let Taoist Lin finish looking first. Lin Moyu checked twice, then had the undead expand the time reversal to nearby formations. He finally concluded, the giant claw temporarily severed the great Tao and sealed the primordial Tao energy in the mountain, causing the nearby formations to all fail. The Lord of Power was shocked. Severing the Tao and sealing primordial energy. The Beast Emperors can't do that. Lin Moyu's expression was grave. It might not be the Beast Emperors, could be something else. Looks like they've succeeded at something. What a coincidence. He looked around. If I'm not mistaken, there are about 1,000 such natural formations, right? The Lord of Power exclaimed, how did you know? 4119. 4119. Chapter 4119, Restoring the Formation. Lin Moyu said, formations can speak. Formations can speak. The Lord of Power looked confused. There aren't any formation spirits here. Formation spirits can be corrupted, so except for special cases like the War Emperor, the battlefield's formations have no spirits. Without a spirit, how could a formation speak? And Yuyan shot the Lord of Power a look. You don't understand formations, just listen to Taoist Lin. The Lord of Power was unconvinced, but Yuyan ignored him. Don't mind him, Taoist Lin, please continue. Lin Moyu explained, there are 1,000 naturally formed formations scattered throughout the Ungduan Mountains. They are heaven and earth's first line of defense. We set up our own formations to link these natural formations together, greatly enhancing their power. In fact, these 1,000 natural formations account for at least 70% of the entire formation cluster's effectiveness. And Yuyan nodded, Taoist Lin is right. The Lord of Power muttered, Old Yin had said the same thing. Pointing to the destroyed natural formation, Lin Moyu said, this formation was smashed, and it looks like only one was lost. But actually, the effectiveness of the nearby formation cluster has dropped dramatically. It might even affect the entire Ungduan Mountains formation network. If this happens a few more times, if over 100 natural formations are destroyed, the effectiveness of the whole network could drop to half. The Lord of Power's expression turned grave. Their ability to hold back the Tao wild beasts with so few people depended not just on their own strength, but on the formation network. If it were broken, the beasts could break through, join with those in the 10 million origin mountains, and overwhelm the outer battlefield's Tao lords. And the Eternals would still have to deal with the Beast Emperors, whose power slightly surpassed even Eternals. He didn't know that most of the Dao wild beasts in the 10 million origin mountains were already dead, and soon their source would be cut off, perhaps the reason for the recent beast riots. And Yuyan said, a cornered dog will jump a wall, and a dying rabbit will bite. Maybe the Dao wild beasts sense the changes outside and are fighting desperately. Lin Moyu replied, not just outside, the inner battlefield is probably in chaos too. You're probably right, Taoist Yuyan, so we need to be extra careful. And Yuyan said, but with you here, Taoist Lin, those beasts can't stir up much trouble. Lin Moyu laughed, you give me too much credit. And Yuyan shook her head, I mean it. Their conversation left the Lord of Power bewildered, but he could tell something was wrong in the 10 million origin mountains, causing the beasts to riot. He'd already seen chaos in the Great Wilderness thanks to Tun Yuan. Lin Moyu said, the wheel turns. The Dao wild beasts have been dominant for so long, it's time they suffered. As he spoke, Lin Moyu began drawing divine runes, which wove together in the air to form a formation. It looked simple but harmonious, reminiscent of a natural formation. The Lord of Power was about to comment, but An Yuyan glared him into silence. After finishing the formation, Lin Moyu studied it, then frowned, dissatisfied. With a wave, he dispersed it and started over. Again and again, he built and erased formations, never satisfied. And Yuyan watched quietly, not letting the Lord of Power interrupt. To the Lord of Power, Lin Moyu's formations were already incredible, far beyond his understanding. But Lin Moyu kept redoing them, with each new formation looking much like the last. If not for An Yuyan, he'd have spoken up long ago. An Yuyan didn't fully understand either, but trusted Lin Moyu wouldn't do anything meaningless. Finally, after hundreds of attempts, Lin Moyu's frown cleared and a formation took shape before him. It looked similar to the previous ones, but felt more natural and perfect. Finally done, thought the Lord of Power, realizing he'd been waiting 2 days. Lin Moyu said, Taoist Power, please write the origin mountain. The Lord of Power, who cultivated the power Great Tao, was unmatched in physical strength. Naturally, this job fell to him. Lin Moyu said he had to maintain the formation and couldn't help. Normally, the Lord of Power wouldn't take orders from another Tao Lord, but An Yuyan gave him a look. Power, listen to Taoist Lin. He obeyed, transforming into a giant 10,000 meters tall, and with a roar, lifted the collapsed origin mountain back into place. The mountain was massive, heavier than dozens of origin continents combined, but he managed it. Lin Moyu said, hold it steady for a moment. He gently pushed the formation, which settled onto the mountain. The formation hummed to life, stirring a small storm. Lin Moyu continued drawing runes, linking his formation to the surrounding cluster, replacing the destroyed natural formation and restoring the network. This was remarkable. Restoring a natural formation was proof of Lin Moyu's mastery of formation arts. But what about the primordial Tao energy inside the mountain? An Yuyan and the Lord of Power wondered, but Lin Moyu produced a drop of primordial Tao energy and cast it into the formation. Using it as a seed, he drew the nearby mountains, Tao energy into the restored mountain. Wind howled, and Tao energy flowed silently through the formation. The cracks at the mountain's base healed visibly, and within half an hour, the mountain was fully restored. Lin Moyu said, thank you, Taoist Power. It's done. And Yuyan's eyes lit up, the formations restored. She could hardly believe it. Lin Moyu had really done it. Lin Moyu said, not completely, about 90%. But it's enough. The Lord of Power was about to speak when suddenly the Ungduan Mountains formation network roared to life, brilliant light bursting in the sky. His face changed. They're coming from the west. 4120, 4120. Chapter 4120, Brushing the Edge. The formation network continuously issued warnings, with streaks of radiant light bursting in the sky, dazzling and brilliant. Numerous formations activated automatically, and the origin mountains within the Ungduan range erupted with resplendent light, supplying power to the vast array of formations. Elsewhere on the battlefield, the terrain could shift and formations were unstable, but not in the Ungduan Mountains. Here, the formations had existed for countless years, and the geography had never changed. Thanks to these formations, the Ungduan Mountains kept the Tao wild beasts firmly at bay. Unless the beasts launched an all-out assault, the Eternals were confident they could hold them back. After all, on the other side of the Great Wilderness, the Spirit Demon clan was also a check, and even the Beast Emperors had to be cautious. The Ungduan mountains were vast, and each beast tide struck at a different location. This time, the beast tide erupted 100,000 li from where the trio stood. Fortunately, that distance meant little to them. They arrived at the site in an instant. From afar, they saw rolling black clouds, a dense horde of Dao wild beasts, numbering over 1,000,000, with tens of thousands of beast kings among them. Compared to the outer battlefield, the proportion of beast kings in the great wilderness was much higher. The Lord of Power sighed in relief. Good, no beast emperors. Lin Moyu sensed the approaching beast aura, his gaze rising to the clouds above. There's someone hiding in the cloud layer. The Lord of Power was puzzled. In the Dao cloud, the Dao there is chaotic. If you enter, you can't use even a tenth of your power. Why hide there? Lin Moyu shook his head, but he's definitely in there. And Yuyan asked, could it be the one who smashed the origin mountain? Lin Moyu replied, it's possible. The Lord of Power is right. The Dao cloud is a tangled web of Daos, extremely chaotic. Anyone inside loses most of their strength. Unless And Yuyan pressed, unless what? Lin Moyu said, unless the person has surpassed eternity and touched that level. Then, not only would the chaos of the Dao cloud not affect them, they could actually harness it for even greater power. The Dao cloud was formed by countless intertwining Dao forces, chaotic and ever-present above the battlefield. Even Eternals would be weakened inside. But, as Lin Moyu explained, if someone surpassed eternity, they could control the chaos and use it to their advantage. The Lord of Power instinctively doubted this, but remembered the giant claw that once descended from the Dao cloud. And Yuyan asked, is there any way to deal with this? Lin Moyu replied, no. If I were eternal, I'd charge into the Dao cloud and fight, but as a Dao Lord, I'm still lacking. For now, we'll just have to see what he does. And Yuyan sensed Lin Moyu was holding something back, but his words were flawless and left no room for argument. His previous performance had been so impressive that even when facing Eternals, he always seemed in control. The Lord of Power didn't doubt him. Guess we'll just have to wait and see. Lin Moyu said, we don't have to just wait, we can provoke him and see if he'll act. How? Asked the Lord of Power. These Dao wild beasts are here to activate the formations in the Ungduan mountains. If our opponent strikes, it'll be at the natural formations. If we stop the beasts from reaching the formations, he'll have trouble targeting them. If he's not smart, he'll probably get angry. The Lord of Power still didn't quite get it, but Yuyan said, we'll leave it to you, Daoist Lin. Lin Moyu said, no problem. He snapped his fingers, and instantly his army of undead servants transformed into divine dragons, surging forward like a storm. They pierced into the beast horde, and a fierce battle erupted. The undead servants were between Dao wild beasts and beast kings in strength, but they had a huge numbers advantage. Against 1,000,000 beasts, Lin Moyu sent out 10 million undead, 10 for every beast. The Lord of Power stared in shock. You have that many Dao Lord level puppets? He mistook the undead for Lin Moyu's puppets, and Lin Moyu didn't bother to correct him. The beast tide never reached the formation network. Lin Moyu's undead intercepted them midway. Many beasts were slain, and the beast kings were beset and unable to break through. The formation network activated, but wasn't impacted, so it didn't reveal itself. Only a faint glow shone across the mountains, making it hard to spot the natural formations. The battle raged for a while, with half the beasts dead or wounded, when the figure in the Dao cloud finally roared in anger. A dozen giant claw marks appeared out of nowhere, some slashing into the battlefield, others striking toward the Ungduan mountains. Unable to probe with the beast tide, he attacked directly. As soon as the formation network was fully triggered, he could pinpoint and destroy the natural formations. Great Dao world-ending palm! Lin Moyu shouted, unleashing several palms to meet the giant claws. And Yuyan called out, don't let those claws touch the formations. She instantly used her fruit technique, causing several claws to vanish. The Lord of Power roared, one fist to steady the heavens. Countless fist shadows filled the sky, blocking the claws. From the Dao cloud came another angry roar, and another claw struck, even stronger than before, just like the one that destroyed the natural formation. Lin Moyu said quietly, retreat, don't face it head-on. The trio immediately fell back, letting the claw hit the mountains. The formation network activated, but only 2 formations responded, those the claw struck. The others were bystanders. The Dao force around the claw was severed, so the other formations didn't respond. This confirmed Lin Moyu's earlier theory. After this strike, the beast horde suddenly retreated like a receding tide. Lin Moyu also withdrew his undead, not pursuing. The Lord of Power said, that last strike was strong, but I think we could have blocked it. Lin Moyu replied, no need to risk it. If anyone got hurt, it wouldn't be worth it. It's just 2 formations, we can restore them easily. Plus, I got to observe our opponent's strength. When facing the unknown, gathering information is key. And Yuyan asked, did you learn anything? Lin Moyu said, I'm sure he's only brushed the edge of that realm, he can manage 1 strike, but for now, he's not a real threat. But we can't force him out yet, which is troublesome. I still don't know what he really is. I'll have to think of something.